There we are. Hello, 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 hello. Thank you so much for being here. It's Poly Tacos. If you're watching the stream on VOD or if you're joining me for your very first time, I am a polyamorous, queer um, soft boy who likes pro wrestling and Magic the Gathering. And sometimes I just like to chat. And today is the day that I'm just feeling like chatting. So, what we're going to be talking about today is the Chauvin trial. More or less the conservative response to the Chauvin trial. We're going to be looking at some videos from Ben Shapiro, and I think we got one from Lauren Shin. We're gonna be looking at too. That's kind of like just kind of get us warmed up here initially, and then we're gonna be doing a deep dive into toxic masculinity, and more specifically. We're going to be looking at, and I found out this word's banned on Twitch, so hopefully I don't get kicked off for using it a whole lot because I'm going to be using it a whole lot in this stream. But it's we're going to be looking at incel culture. We're going to be looking at basically some YouTube videos from self-proclaimed incels, and we're going to be taking a look at kind of like the language that they use and how it ties to toxic masculinity and how it is sort of a uh, how it's kind of self-evident that it's a we kind of know it's a toxic culture, but a lot of people can't really don't really know why or how. So we're going to be taking a look at it. Hopefully you enjoy. Let's see if I can actually get chat up here. Boom, there's chat. Oh, 10 under. What it do? So much to talk about today. Super excited about the toxic masculinity stuff. That's awesome, 10 under. I hope you enjoy. I know at least one person will be here and enjoy this. Like I'm actually pretty excited. I've been kicking around this idea about kind of what I want to talk about for a long time, but you know how when you get an idea that you actually want to talk about, it like like stuff I kind of want to talk about, like when I'm like, oh yeah, let's do a magic stream. I can just throw that on, right? I can just throw fire up arena and then turn the camera on. But like when it's like something I care about, like talking about toxic masculinity, it takes me a little while to like really kind of formulate what I want to say. More because mostly just because I don't want to fuck up, right? Like I want to yeah, I want to tackle issues that I like care and know a little bit about. I want to actually kind of like do it right. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, we're gonna be talking about yield, toxic masculinity, and then we'll be looking at some self-proclaimed incels, and we'll take a look at the Vice expose video thing from a couple years ago. We'll be taking a look at all that stuff, and yeah. All right, so now the Chauvin trial happened. The verdict came down guilty on all three counts. I'm not gonna say too much about it right now, other than to say that the obvious, like everyone saw kind of what happened, and justice wasn't like quite served, but you saw. I felt that with the most recent stream, talking about mental health was fun, but also difficult when playing while playing music. Yeah, exactly. That's why I don't have any music on right now. Also, we're gonna be watching videos like off and on pretty frequently, so I figured music wasn't the best thing. Um, because I'm like a boomer and I don't want to be messing with turning it on and off, right? But anyway, um, obviously with the Chauvin trial, uh, you know, I was happy about the verdict, guilty on all three counts. Obviously, it's something that is worth celebrating because like being on the left, like you have to like count your victories, or else you really will you'll just you fall into kind of like a despair spiral, if you don't actually count when you have even the small wins. But yeah, so the verdict came down. I'm pretty stoked about it. but also, what you knew was going to happen was that conservative social media is going to, obviously not have enjoyed this verdict because obviously um, a cop is facing consequences, and the right tends to not like that too much. They're not huge fans. So we're going to be looking at a few quick responses from Mr. Shapiro and oh oh can we okay, good. Oh, shut up. Shut up, advertisement. I refuse. I refuse. Uh my wife asked me if she actually offered to pay for YouTube Premium, like there's a family plan, and she was like, "It'll be good for streams," and I was like, "No, no, on principle, I am not getting YouTube Premium or whatever." Oh, they're not going to commercial me into getting this. Yeah, add 3 or 4 ads. Bring them on. Don't care. Yeah, sure. Back to back to back to back. Yeah, we could like Captain America. I can do this all day. All right. Okay, so yeah, we've gotten. Okay, so we're. I hadn't. I recently switched over to dark mode, and not all my tabs were in dark mode, so I had to switch that over. Um, just to give you an insight to what I was doing. All right, so let's go to video capture. Boom. Yeah. Make myself small. Boom. I recently switched over to OBS, and I haven't quite got everything figured out yet, but it's a lot better from what I've yeah, dark mode is superior in all things, right? In like every mode of being or observing or playing video games or card games, dark mode's usually the best. All right, let's see how loud this is going to be. Let me know if this blows you out. Actually, it's probably I probably need to headphones it up like a professional. Here we go. All right. Oh, that's muted. That's music. That's muted. That is.
The prosecution did not allege that Chauvin killed Floyd because he was black. The prosecution did not allege racism, but that is what Chauvin stands convicted of. That's what America stands convicted of, not just in the court of law, but in the court of public opinion, which matters a hell of a lot more than the court of law. But there's one thing that the jury didn't do. There's one charge that the jury never even considered. There was one charge that was never even alleged, that Chauvin was convicted of. And that, of course, is the biggest charge of all. Not the murder charge. The charge that Derek Chauvin is emblematic of an American system of racism.
All right, so yeah, we can go ahead and get started right off the bat here. Whew, that is a lot of mold crammed into 32 seconds. Cheese and crackers. That's impressive. That is a lot of molding to cram into half a minute. Like, I am legitimately impressed by Ben Shapiro here. Like, holy crap. Yeah, he mad. He mad. Oh yeah, I wanted to see. I was reminded of a quote. Oh, of course, it's somebody saying he never said this. That's funny. Well, it doesn't matter who said it. Everything's made up. Yeah. I have never killed anyone, but I have read some obituary notices with great satisfaction. And it gets apparently gets misquoted often as uh, I never wished anyone's I never wished a man dead, but I have read some obituaries with great pleasure. That's apparently misquoted, but that's the quote. Like I've never wished a man dead. Or I'll shut up. Throw it up on the screen here. I've never wished a man dead, but I've read many obituaries with with great pleasure. Someone tweeted that earlier, and I couldn't find it because I'm bad at things. But yeah, I'm reminded of that quote when ever yeah on this picture right here. I'm reminded of that very quote. Like I never want the cops to take anybody to jail for the rest of their lives. But I hear some verdicts with great pleasure. Like yeah. I was fixing it in real time. Thanks 10 under. I appreciate you letting me know about that volume. Um, but yeah, I need to make this bigger. I'm missing. I can't see all the stream chat. There's stream chat. There it is. Yeah, I don't need to see me. Oh, I probably do actually. Polytacos, boomers around with OBS. All right, cool. That's much better. That's much better. Okay. Anyway, I couldn't see chat. Now I can see chat. All right. So back to Chauvin. I see when this was getting read out, and the look of utter shock and confusion on his face that he was actually going to see guilty and that he was going to see the inside of a prison. Like, whew, that was worth it. You know, like that was good feels, right? It's very apt to capture the feeling of it. Yeah. It's good. Like I can't help but like have some Schadenfreude here, right? Like, um, but yeah. All right. So this I was a little distracted, getting set up still, and Ben Shapiro speaks extremely fast. So we're gonna go back.
Did not allege racism, but that is what Chauvin stands convicted of. That's what America stands convicted of, not just in the court of law, but in the court of public opinion, which matters a hell of a lot more than the court of law. But there's one thing that the jury didn't do. There's one charge that the jury never even considered. There's one charge that was never even alleged, that Chauvin was convicted of. And that, of course, is the biggest charge of all. Not the murder charge. The charge that Derek Chauvin is emblematic of an American system of racism. That charge was never proved. No evidence was brought to that idea. There was not even an allegation that this killing was racial in any way.
So, fun fact, that was the strategy of the prosecution. That was a conscious choice of the prosecution. They made it a point to not put the system on trial, you know? Like if you actually watched the trial and watched this and followed like the strategy of how they called witnesses and the strategy of like who they talked to when they talked to them, they made a very clear effort to isolate Derek Chauvin from the Minnesota Police Department. Like they made it a point to be like, okay, this person is not a part of what represents police in Minneapolis, and by extension, you know, like Ben's kind of right. Like this was a nationally watched show. He's right that this is like everybody's looking at this trial and kind of like placing it on the rest of the country, right? They're looking at it as a proxy for the rest of the country. So he's right about that. But what I was saying is that the police, or at least the prosecution in this case, made it a point to isolate Derek Chauvin. I've heard some people on Twitter actually call it a sacrifice, in that they isolated him away and said, this is not the police, this is not policing. Because they knew that putting quote, put the system on trial, and if they went on a lot of platitudes about like how racist the police are, and if they went on like, and if they took the narrative to like policing is messed up, and to talk about the system that enabled this to happen, they knew that that was a much more broad case, and they knew that was much harder to like, that was going to be so much muddier, and that was going to be so much and that's what the defense wanted them to do, because the defense, like basically the prosecution just stuck to the facts, and the defense stuck to a lot of culture stuff. Like they tried to make it out, well, one, they tried to they brought up George Floyd's drug abuse a lot, and so like, and they were basically trying to get the jury to think that this is a person that, one, they like, I've covered this before on stream, but like it, on the surface, it appears that they were like trying to prove a medical reason as to why George Floyd died. That doesn't make any sense, because there are several experts that were called during the trial that completely debunk that, right? So it doesn't make a lot of sense. So why call the witnesses? No, they called the witnesses for a cultural reason. That's why the defense actually wanted to talk to Derek Chauvin's girlfriend too, because they wanted to establish that he was just, you know, a non-white fucking drug user, right? Like, so, and they wanted to kind of follow that same narrative, you know, and that was the bait that they laid for the prosecution, to follow that narrative too, to like make this about like just, you know, culture, racial, like a culture war type trial. But the prosecution instead were like, no, this is specifically Derek Chauvin, and we're not going to put the entire police department of Minnesota, much less the police department of America, on trial here, because we need to get this person. Like, they needed a conviction, and they got it. It was and I honestly, like, I don't watch a lot of trials. Like, I'll watch, you know, pretty much the trials that everybody watches, but like, they did a really good job, you know, like the prosecution did a very, very good job on putting it all together. But I'm at this point, I'm rambling. I'm coming back to, all of this is to say that this was a strategy, a known strategy by the prosecution to get that conviction. Like, that's why, as Ben Shapiro puts it, they didn't put the whole system on trial, and they didn't say that it was racist. And he says, but people are gonna, like, I know the next thing he's gonna say, because I watched this earlier, but like, he's gonna say, well, we'll watch it. But yeah, that the idea that the system wasn't on trial in this case was a strategic effort by the prosecution.
That allegation never was brought to court. There was no evidence presented of that allegation. And yet that was the entire story. If you ask Americans today, is Derek Chauvin a racist? I guarantee you, a majority of Americans will say yes. And what is the...
Oh, what? Wow. We got all the way to 57 seconds before we got our first straw man. I am legitimately impressed, Ben. I think you're getting better. I really, really do. No, seriously, like, the if you ask anyone, if you go on the street and say, hey, anyone, is Derek Chauvin a racist? He's a fucking murderer. Isn't that what, like, matters, right? Like, like, it's so, such a weird thing that you would ask out of this case. You know what I'm saying? Like it's such a weird straw man to throw out there. Be like, well, is Derek Chauvin a racist? Like it's just so bizarre that's like that the straw man that Ben's creating here. Like, that would be the question that you would go out and ask. You know, like, that's wild. Is Derek Chauvin cavalier about stepping on somebody's neck until they didn't live anymore? Sure. Did he have his damn hand in his pocket while it was happening? Absolutely. Like, wow.
The evidence of that George Floyd died. That is not evidence of racism. That's evidence, at best, of a bad cop. It is evidence of bad police procedure. It is evidence of recklessness. That is not evidence of racism. But we all know that the real charge that was brought against Derek Chauvin, because it was being brought against America more broadly, is that America is racist, and this case is...
Nope. Dude, like, that's wow. Like, I didn't notice this earlier, but Ben has already argued against his own premise. Like he said, he started this entire video. Like, the name of this video is "The Real Reason Derek Chauvin Was Convicted of Murder." Okay. He started it by saying, the defense never brought up race. The prosecution never brought up race. The prosecution talked about Derek Chauvin specifically, and that's the facts of the case, and that's what happened in the courtroom. And then he turns literally around like 30 seconds later and is like, but the reason why he was convicted is because of racism. Like, he specifically laid out the evidence as to why he's wrong earlier in the video because Ben Shapiro
is emblematic of that. This data point is all about America being racist. He was never charged with that. He was never accused of that. No evidence was brought of that. But not only was he convicted of that, the entire country was convicted of a crime that there was literally no evidence presented of. And that really is the part that is terrible for the country and has driven the narrative.
No evidence was presented of. 9-minute long video that the jury is actually going to have to, like, I was listening to one of the folks, like, that was a part of the jury selection or something like that, and they said that they've discussed with the jury that, like, they're gonna need counseling after, like, literally being forced to watch that video and talk about this case for 3 weeks, whatever. Like, no evidence, apparently. 9-minute long video. I'm just really curious about, like, I don't know. I don't even know how to make that funny. Like, I'm curious about the mindset that actually believes that there's no evidence, that when you yourself saw the evidence, you know, like I don't know. That seems like some like I hate to go over it. Ben Shapiro's is a dumb person's idea of a smart person. Yeah, that's you're not wrong. It's a very but, like, yeah, that's just wild to me. That somebody can go with that narrative that something everyone saw, basically to say something everyone saw doesn't exist, right? Like don't, like, I hate to use, it's overused to say the 1984 thing, but that is some, like, right? That's some don't believe your eyes shit, you know? Like, trust the state, not your eyes, or whatever the quote is. I'm that's got me a little flustered. I was like, I watched this earlier on somebody else's stream, on Chud Logic's stream, actually. If you're on here and you like lefty politics, you should go check out Chud Logic. He's a hoot. He's actually really funny. But anyway, he was watching this earlier, and I was, like, working and stuff, so I missed that earlier. That he was like, there's literally no evidence. Like, whoa, my guy.
Narrative all along, because let us be real about this. If the body cam footage had broken at the time when it was supposed to, by the way, the body cam footage broke well after the original third-party footage of what was going on with Chauvin and Floyd. If the body cam footage had broken, and the third-party footage had broken, and all of the evidence had been cast into the public sphere, if all of that had happened, and there had not been 20 million people in the streets declaring that America was systemically racist and that this case was a case of racism, it is highly doubtful to me whether a jury would have convicted of second and third degree murder on this evidence.
Literally no evidence. Again, they're going to have to seek counseling. Like, more than likely, these folks are going to, like, they have some secondhand trauma of all the videotape that they watched. I haven't even watched any, like, I've seen, like, I did not, this is one of the actually, yeah, confession time. I about 7 or 8 months ago decided that I was not going to watch any more videos of police brutality. Um, as far as like, especially against like black people, um, I'm obviously going to pay attention to the stories. I'm going to talk about them. I'm going to, see the pictures or whatever. I can definitely like check out trusted sources and know exactly what happened. Like, I don't need to see Derek Chauvin kneeling on George Floyd's back neck for 9 minutes to know that he did it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I see all the pictures. I know. And the reason why is because I don't want to like have that secondhand trauma, right? Like, it actually disturbs me now to watch cops straight up just like, off people. Um, I don't really watch those anymore. So I haven't watched any of the live footage about Chauvin. Like, I guess that's been longer than a year. I decided to stop to do that because this happened last April. But I haven't like actually watched the video of George Floyd, and I think Eric Garner was the last one I watched. But anyway, um, there was like I saw clips just because I was following the case of like him in the car, and after he was like finally let up and he like it's just too late, and he was already telling the cops that he couldn't breathe, and like that's harrowing. It's actually harrowing to watch that stuff, and to like see Ben bought 5,000 here, like squawking about how there's literally no evidence. Like, that's legitimately fucked. Like, that's a really fucked way to get your narrative laid out there. Like, you have to. So this is what makes me so kind of mad when I am made to talk to or debate conservatives. I should probably up this. When I'm made to talk to conservatives or whatever, because like they legit they in order to follow their way of their like logic, you have to believe people aren't people. A lot of the times when you talk to at least conservative leadership or conservative online like rhetoric, like, if people try to act like online rhetoric is more extreme on both sides, I can go check out like any number of lefty streamers, and they're not trying to like act like people don't fucking exist, Like, yeah, there's some that do, but like, seriously, like, lefties just they fucking argue with each other about how they're not inclusive enough. Whereas like the right just kind of assumes like you just, oh yeah, that footage doesn't exist. Go on, Ben. Like, it's just wild to me. And like, if you legit believe that there is no evidence, and all of the other shit that he said before this, like there was a mob and all this stuff, like, I like that's how he gets people to just follow the narrative. Like, I could see how people fall that down that damn rabbit hole because they just assume the premise. They assume, if you assume Ben isn't lying, he makes a lot of fucking sense, surprisingly.
Which suggests to me, of course, that when it comes to due process, this was due process in name. It was not justice in effect, because individual justice relies on you evaluating the evidence before you, not on bringing in preconceived notions about systemic American racism that.
Actually, that's why we have an entire jury selection process before the trial. You fuck. You fucking fuck. Like, is Ben's premise actually that I really no. I actually think that like Ben's premise is actually that no cop can be tried for racism or for killing someone. That's legitimately that's the end goal here. That's it. We found it. We got there, everybody. Like, that's what Ben wants, is that he wants no cop to go to jail for killing a black person because, or excuse me, no white cop, because every single white cop, you can't get a fair trial because, racism. So guess they gotta go. They gotta just walk. Like literally, like Ben is literally arguing for complete impunity for police officers. Like a license to kill James fucking Bond style for every police officer in the United States is what Ben is advocating for with this line of argument.
that were never alleged in the courtroom. The prosecution did not allege that. The prosecution did not allege that Chauvin was a racist who went to kill a black man that day. That was not alleged. The prosecution did not allege that Chauvin killed Floyd because he was black, or even that he was reckless because he was black. The prosecution did not allege racism, but that is what Chauvin stands convicted of for the rest of his life. That's what America.
He stands convicted of his own fucking actions, my guy. Like literally in the literal sense, in the sense that you fucking made up just now and you're in a straw man. Sure, he stands convicted of racism, but he stands convicted of but that thing that murder. That's what he stands convicted of, my guy. That's what he stands convicted of. Cheese and crackers.
America stands convicted of, in the view of the entire media, in the view of the entire Democratic Party. This was eminently political from beginning to end. From beginning to end. So when I say that the jury is wrong, juries get it wrong. But the question isn't whether the jury got it wrong. The question is whether the jury got it wrong because they were actually convicting Chauvin of a crime that he was not even alleged to have committed, which is standing in for America's evil racist system. And the answer there is pretty obviously yes. And you can see it in every element of the narrative that's been trotted out. Every single element of the narrative. For example, Philonise Floyd, who is...
So, like, this is the part where you kind of get the crux of this video is this is a video that claims to be giving you the truth about why Derek Chauvin was convicted of murder. He has said too many times in this video, not too many times, like 3 or 4 times in this video, that he said like 3 or 4 times that the fucking prosecution didn't even bring that shit up. Like he like Ben himself said that. So the premise of you getting the truth about why Chauvin was convicted is bullshit, right? Like that's just not true. That ain't true. So what's this video about? Okay, so about halfway through, you kind of figure out what it's actually about. And it's actually about the media coverage, right? It's actually about the conversation that's happening around this conviction. And, and again, I mean, you didn't have to guess, but you kind of knew that if Ben Shapiro's talking about a social issue, he just wants to silence people talking about a social issue. Most of the time, like he's complaining about people talking about something while also complaining about censorship, like out of both. Like when I was growing up, they called that talking out of both sides of your mouth. You know, like that's what that's called. So yeah, that's kind of Ben Shapiro's whole thing, right? I guess we move on.
Is a relative that George Floyd's brother got up and suggested, standing next to Al Sharpton, one of the great race baiters in American history, and Jesse Jackson, another one of the greatest race baiters in American history.
Just mad that they're more relevant than you, my guy. You're just mad. Be jealous.
And Benjamin Crump, another great race baiter in modern American history. Philonise Floyd stood there and suggested that George Floyd was like Emmett Till. And now, for those who don't know about the Emmett Till crime, one of the great racial crimes in American history, Emmett Till was a 14-year-old black boy who was falsely accused of having sexually harassed.
Okay, so, yeah, I'm just gonna let it play. I'm just gonna let it play and let myself naturally let this wash over me, because I watched this earlier, didn't feel too good about it. Have a feeling I'm not going to feel too good about it again. But we're going to watch it. We're going to sit here and we're going to hang on. He was charged for murder, not a hate crime. This is a giant blazing straw man. Exactly. This is motherfucking Burning Man. Like, for real. Like, that's the size of this straw man that fucking Ben Shapiro has thrown out there. All right, so He's yes, Ben brought it up because somebody else brought it up first, but Ben Shapiro is now talking about Emmett Till. So let's watch that. Let's watch that together. Let's hang out together and watch that.
Asked a white woman. The white woman's family then went to the place where Emmett Till lived, dragged him out of his house, shot him, and threw him in a river. In other words, the circumstances surrounding George Floyd's death are nothing like the circumstances surrounding Emmett Till's death, which was a purely racist murder in the South in the Jim Crow era. But this is the comparison that was made continuously and repeatedly, is that every day America's racist system is creating new Emmett Tills. And George Floyd is just the latest example of this. Here is Philanese Floyd.
Fun fact, Emmett Till's memorial is shot up on the regular basis and has to be repaired all the time if it hasn't been taken down. I haven't checked up on that, but there's a memorial to Emmett Till in the city that he was killed, and it's oftentimes shot at, and there's actual fucking bullet holes in the memorial. Yeah, that is something that happens in a system that's not fucking like racist, right? That's a system that's like fucking fixed, that people don't, do that. Like that's cool. That's a very cool and nice thing that happens in a completely fixed system.
Making that case.
The person that comes to my mind is 1955, and to me, he was the first George Floyd. That was Emmett Till.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
I did was on CNN.
I know this is serious, but everyone else is like looking around, like moving around. This guy is like has found a spot on the back of his head and is just like right there. Like right there this whole time. Okay, I shouldn't hadn't noticed that. We needed a moment of levity there. Must be nice to be conservative where racism apparently doesn't exist. Yeah, exactly. That'd be sweet, wouldn't it? It'd be sweet if you could just uninstall the racism patch on America. Oh, that'd be fucking dope.
With Deborah Watts, and she just brought him back to life.
Wow.
People forgot about him.
Yeah.
But he was the
Oh, he
first
looked
George
away.
Floyd.
Looked away.
Okay, that is a lie. It is by the way, it is a slander against Emmett Till.
You shut the fuck up, Ben Shapiro. Slander against Emmett Till. What's the slander against Emmett Till is being used as a token by your fucking racist earpiece wearing ass. Earpiece looking ass. No, like seriously though, like man, it makes me real upset when people like tokenize black men that have passed away, and that's basically what, like, there's a real legit, like, that man was actually like crying about his brother being brought to justice, you know what I'm saying, and was saying like, yo, I feel like a connection to history, like justice here feels a little bit like, finally closure to something that happened, like, I think Emmett Till died in like the 40s, like 80 years ago, like bring a little, like not the end, not closure, but like bring a little bit, just monicum of peace to an issue, or getting a step closer, like just, or something about a hurt and a real historical history, and a thing that, like, black folks have had to deal with, that black folks have in the back of their damn head all the time, and that's where you have to argue with such a damn place of privilege to even fathom what Ben's talking about, because like he legit, I don't know, like, you can't, it just seems so inhumane to be able to purposefully not understand people. Like, and I feel like that's the entire MO of like the right wing on, you know, social media, YouTube, Twitter, that stuff. Like, it's like they have a vested interest in not understanding people. And you really see that shine through when they say shit like there was zero evidence in this trial, and how little like Ben cares about like facts or following following the reality of any case, you know?
Who is not, in fact, a repeat criminal, who had held up a pregnant woman at gunpoint and robbed.
Yeah, get fucked, dude. It doesn't matter. That wasn't like cops aren't the fucking jury and executioner, my friend. They're not. So get fucked. Did not deserve to die, ass.
Robbed her house with her kid in the house. He was not a repeat drug offender who done jail time. He was not a person passing counter.
All right. I'm done. I'm done with Ben Shapiro just like repeating things that fucking George Floyd did.
Case in the George Floyd case. But again, that is what Chauvin was convicted of yesterday. Not just in the court of law, but in the court of public country that stands convicted of that when it was not even alleged based on evidence. It was not even alleged.
Again, it's so fucking weird that like it's so weird that you would title your video the real reason why Chauvin was convicted, and then spend the entire 6.5 minutes arguing against that premise. Is this what is like? Is Ben Shapiro a troll unto himself? Like, that's really what I want to know at this point. Like, what?
And it seems to me that what happened really here is that the jury took allegations that were not even made and then read them into the crime. Derek Chauvin had to be convicted of second and third degree murder, not because the fact pattern supported second and third degree murder, might have supported manslaughter, but he had to be convicted of second and third degree murder, or whatever charges they threw at him, frankly, because he was a stand-in for the evil history of American racism and the current system of American racial prejudice.
Yeah. If Ben, if you were right, then good. Like, seriously, if he was right, if the system was on trial and they won anyway, then hell yeah. But that's not the case. Like it's just that, like, every way you slice it, that is just basically Ben being Ben, painting a big old L on his forehead.
A trial attorney based in New York, specializing in the defense of clients and entertainment. Joining us on the line is Misty Maris. Misty's a trial attorney based in New York, specializing in the defense of clients in entertainment, sports, employment, civil rights, and sexual assault and abuse cases. She, of course, was covering the Chauvin trial gavel to gavel for HLN. Misty Maris, thanks for joining the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ben, for having me. I appreciate
For those who don't know, HLN is a fucking conservative rag.
being here.
First, let's talk, obviously, about the actual verdict. So the verdict came down incredibly fast. As soon as they said that it was coming down yesterday afternoon, I immediately said, guilty on all counts, because there was no way it was going
Because it was obvious as shit and everybody saw it.
to be anything else, obviously. You require a unanimous verdict for either acquittal or for conviction in Minnesota. There was no way they were going to acquit on all charges inside of 10 hours. That was just not going to happen. And if there had been any sort of debate, it would have been...
Right, 10 under. Ben has literally zero content. It's all rhetoric and talking really fast.
It would have gone to the judge. The judge would have told them to go back to chambers. What is your reaction to the verdict coming back this fast after a 3-week trial?
Ben, I was actually so surprised that the verdict came in. I wasn't even prepared, and I was on verdict watch. I thought to myself,
Yeah, that means you're bad at your fucking job.
this is crazy. I assumed that we would hear some questions from the jury. Very often, you hear the jury.
Yeah, that means you're covering this gavel to gavel. That means you weren't fucking watching it.
They want the trial instructions, the jury instructions explained. They need a little bit more information, more context.
Yep, you apparently didn't watch the prosecution. They did an excellent job of doing that before they went in. They did a phenomenal job of explaining every single nook and cranny of this case to the jury.
Without one question from the jury, I was really surprised because, look, this case had a lot of complicated issues, specifically the medical testimony, the causation issue.
Nope. Nope. You had the fucking death certificate. You had a medical examiner, the most foremost medical examiner in the state, coming on and having the jury touch their necks and being like, "This is the reason why George Floyd couldn't breathe anymore." Dude, they laid that all the way down. The actual death certificate said it. They brought the guy who they brought the person who actually wrote the death certificate in. And that person testified that the reason why George Floyd died was because of Derek Chauvin. Like, they testified all of that. What possible questions could they have? Huh? Misty? Huh?
10 hours seemed incredibly fast, but my gut was the same as yours, Ben. When I heard that the verdict was in, I said, okay, guilty on all counts.
Yes. I've seen one trial before, so I know that a short deliberation usually means guilty. I've seen the series finale of Seinfeld, so I know. I had a pretty good gut feeling, like you, Ben, me being trial attorney and legal analyst. I just knew. I had a gut feeling off of, I don't know, the first thing anyone knows about a jury deliberation.
Not what I had expected, but certainly once that speed factor with no questions, that was the result I anticipated under those circumstances.
So, Misty, frankly, I wasn't just stunned by the speed. Because it was so fast, it does, to me, raise questions about how seriously the evidence was considered in the case. Because I think that there was a fairly strong argument for manslaughter here, at least a decent to strong argument for manslaughter. I think that the case for beyond a
My argument for manslaughter is that I'm white. That is my argument for manslaughter.
reasonable doubt on third-degree murder is insane, frankly. I think that the elements of third-degree murder did not even fit to the extent that originally that was not included in the charging documents, and then eventually it was replaced. And the case for second-degree murder requires a bunch of barriers to be passed. The fact that there was no questions, it's just not a clear enough case for me to feel like the evidence was properly inspected by the jury. You can't get inside the jury room, but it does make me suspicious that the amount of outside pressure on this case must have had some impact in the thinking of the jury. Not that juries were intimidated, but that when you spend a year saying that this is the most important criminal case in modern American history, and then the jury comes back inside of 10 hours, hard for me to believe that they went in there, did an objective verification of the evidence, really went through each piece and examined it inside of 10 hours, and then came out with a conviction on all accounts.
Yeah, that's because they'd already seen the footage. Seriously. Like, that's just facts. I mean, like, they had already seen the video. They'd already been presented the evidence for 2.5, 3 weeks. They'd already seen all of the evidence laid out in painstaking detail. And it was a gruesome murder. Why would you want to see more of that if you knew what was going on? You know? It was a gruesome event. Like, I wouldn't want to relive that anymore either. If I knew, if the prosecution had laid the case out, I wouldn't want to like go over the footage anymore. Like,
yeah, 10 hours is incredibly fast for that reason, Ben. And yes, the evidence was incredibly complicated. I agree with you. You know, I really thought that we might see a hung jury on all counts, and that's because of that causation aspect.
A hung jury on all accounts, she thought. This is the legal analyst. Legal analyst for HLN, I think.
Aspect. I thought that was really, really murky. And remember, the standard is beyond a reasonable doubt. The prosecution has to prove every element of every charge beyond a reasonable doubt. So to me, I thought that there was a strong possibility we would see a hung jury. I agree.
So the fun part to watch about this is just to take out like all of the objective pieces about the case and put in any case that they didn't like the outcome of. Because all of it, you could, like, if the jury decided quickly, you could just put it back in here. Because now she's just talking about talking points of casting doubt on the verdict, right? Like that's the low hanging fruit of any criminal conviction that you didn't like. is you have to say they have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, and my personal bias has a reasonable doubt, so therefore they should, like, and that's basically as far as the logic and argument goes.
With you. I actually thought the prosecution's case, if you can get over that causation aspect on manslaughter, was pretty strong. We're talking about a recklessness standard that is a lower standard of as far as intent than the other charges require. For me, with respect to the other two charges, the murder charges, the highest level charges, there was evidence there that, look, at some point, this force was reasonable. Why do I know that? I know that
This person claims to have watched the trial. They had the senior most officer in the city of Minneapolis, the person who's been on the force the longest, come in and say that this was not a part of the training and that this was not reasonable force. They had the police chief, the actual police chief in Minneapolis, come in and say that this was not reasonable and that this was not force that was in the training or recommended.
because the prosecution
got. All right, we're gonna put my face. Oh no, incorrect. Where are we at? Oh goodness, yeah. Put over your advertisement. How about that? Okay, we can skip now. We back.
expert and the prosecution's witnesses said so. So to me, we're on a spectrum here, right? And now the jury is charged with determining, okay, the force spectrum here, right? And the prosecution's witnesses said so. Why do I know that? I know that because the prosecution there that, look, at some point, this force was reasonable. Why do I know that?
Oh, okay. She was pulling a You see, I pulled a fast one. No, she said at some point. That's the key. That's the phrase that's doing all the heavy lifting in that motherfucking statement, is at some point. Because the prosecution's witnesses, when they were being cross-examined, like, basically the prosecution was like, okay, so was what Derek Chauvin did in any way, shape, or form reasonable at all? And would you recommend what he did at all? And was it part of police training? And everybody was like, no, not at all. Was Derek Chauvin did over the top 100% and an overreach and really cruel and no officer should ever do it? Yes, absolutely. Is pretty much like a paraphrasing of what both the police chief, like every police officer that I talked to, they all pretty much said the same thing. Was basically that. Like, the prosecution asked them, if you the prosecution asked them, was what Derek Chauvin did, was that reasonable force? And everybody was like, hell no, right? So then the when it was time for the defense to cross-examine, they literally just came up and were like, hypothetically, if okay, no, I'm joking. I'm not gonna like go after him like that. No, but seriously, they came up and they were like, all right, hypothetically, if an officer, if somebody was just flailing wildly and was super strong and a badass and then the only way an officer could restrain them is to like put them on the ground and put their knee on their back, would that be okay? Do you think that would be okay? Like, I'm I'm not quoting, obviously, like I'm exaggerating quite a bit, but that's basically what the defense did. Like, they spoke in hypotheticals. They came up and were like, yeah, so could you imagine a universe where it would be okay for somebody to put their knee in somebody else's back? Can you imagine it? Are you a fan of John Lennon? Can you imagine? And shockingly, that strategy didn't work out for them, because the prosecution was working in fact and the actual reality of the case, and the defense was working in hypothetical. And that's and what they were really they really behaved like a defense team that was banking on a hell of a lot of bias for the cops against black people. Like, and that's why they lost, is that they because like you have to have a real serious like that's why conservatives are losing their mind about this verdict, is because, and that's why this person Misty has the elbow room to get in here and say, well, the prosecution's witnesses, they didn't they all said that that at some point this was reasonable, because that hypothetical was teased out of them in the courtroom. And what the defense was banking on was that hypothetical that would be like that somebody in the jury was just waiting for that reason to not believe that this was a murder or whatever. Like that's the only people that go with that narrative, is somebody who is looking for a reason not to convict, right?
I know that because the prosecution's expert and the prosecution's witnesses said so.
Also, if you watch Ben Shapiro and didn't watch the trial, like, you don't question that, right? Like, you just keep on rolling like, oh my God, the prosecution's own witnesses were that bad. Well, obviously it was a kangaroo court.
So to me, we're on a spectrum here, right? And now the jury is charged with determining, okay, the force was reasonable up until what point, and when does it become unreasonable to serve as the basis for these other charges? Now, when you're on that spectrum, it becomes incredibly difficult to get to that point where we say, oh, there was an intentional assault here, or there was a depraved heart. So I agree with you. You know, I thought those charges were a stretch, but look, the juries are unpredictable. I mean, we all know that. Anybody who covers trials knows that piece of it. And also, the jury can put more weight towards some evidence, more weight towards some testimony than others. And clearly here, I mean, my opinion, I think the video carried the day for this jury. However, you bring up
100% false. 100% false. What carried the day for the jury was actually the emotional testimony of all the eyewitnesses who were there on the scene. That 100% was what swayed the jury more than the video footage, because the video footage everybody already knew, right? That's they'd already. I mean, more than likely everybody in the jury had already seen the video. But what we do know is that it was the extremely emotional testimony of the 17-year-old girl who actually took the video footage, her testifying, and like the jury physically like actually hearing the desperation in her voice and hearing her like legitimately feel helpless, you know? Like, that's what carried the day for the jury. Like, not the footage. Like, we'd already seen the cold footage. We'd seen Eric Garner was filmed, right? Like, we'd seen the footage before. But no, it was that emotional testimony. It was the prosecution humanizing George Floyd, saying, hey, this was a person that people loved and people are going to miss, and that people watched go away. Like, they made that clear, and they humanized Floyd. It was the emotional testimony by the eyewitnesses, not the video. Again, I very seriously doubt this person watched the trial. Like, Ben said she's been covering it gavel to gavel. Maybe the gavel to gavel is like when they go, you know, like maybe they're talking about the gavels, 2 gavels on the first day. I don't know. Like,
up another great point. There are so many appellate issues here that relate to what you said, whether or not this jury could be fair and impartial. Now, look, the defense had asked for relief on this front multiple times before and during the trial. First was asking for a change of venue. The basis for a change of venue is, can this defendant get a fair trial in this jurisdiction? Now, look, take the temperature of the area. You've got George Floyd Square. You've got the National Guard. The courthouse is on lockdown.
Literally, it was going to happen anywhere they had the trial. 1, 2, just this is the beginning of the same argument you saw from Ben in the last video. She's going to argue that literally no white cop can be put on trial for killing a black person. Watch. She's about to argue it. So first, you can't have it. You can't be tried by a jury of your peers, right? That's the first thing you've already eliminated. So first right you've already eliminated from a fair trial, right? Jury of your peers? Nah. Who needs that? Who needs that? Even though it's like, I don't know, written into the Constitution. No. Jury of your peers, that's made up. Fake news.
You've got businesses boarded up. And you're talking about pulling a jury pool who's going to be impacted by this. These are members of this community. Their businesses, their homes, their lives could be seriously impacted. And that really needed to be.
Yeah, their lives could be impacted. You're right. And that's why that's why they voted to convict, actually. First right thing this person has said. The reason why they voted to convict was because the consequences of this trial affect their lives. 100% correct. Only it affected their lives and that they won't maybe have a less chance of getting, shot by or killed by the police.
Be part of the analysis of that change of venue. Court said no. They said, look, it's publicity everywhere. You're not going to be anywhere in the world and not know about this case.
True.
But that's really not where the inquiry ends, right? Because there's this other aspect about whether or not jurors are going to feel that they can come back with anything but guilty on all counts. So moving forward, the defense asked for the
what? Yeah, let's just make that claim and march on without saying shit about it. Man, it must be awesome to be a legal analyst for HLN or wherever it is that she's from. Like all you gotta do is just come on and be like, hey, there's no way. After I don't want there to be guilty. Okay, so what's the verdict? Guilty. There was no way they were gonna get a not guilty verdict, and it was supremely unfair. I think that losing the election has actually gotten conservatives they're just done with arguing now. They're just gonna from now on they're just gonna stamp their feet and cross their arms and be like, nope, we actually won. It was completely unfair from the start. We actually won. And that's what they're going to do whenever they take L's from now on. I think that's just going to be that's just the story of conservatives. Welcome to the neocons, I guess.
Jurors to be sequestered a couple of times, once at the beginning and once when Dante Wright unrest came out. Now, the court said no. I might have asked for a mistrial at that point, but that's just me, Ben. And of course, those issues are preserved on appeal.
What? A mistrial on what? Hang on, I gotta go back. I blacked out. Maybe a mistrial on what grounds?
Now, the court said no. I might have asked for a mistrial at that point, but that's not going to be anywhere in the world and not know about this case. But that's really not where the inquiry ends, right? Because there's this other aspect about whether or not jurors are going to feel that they can come back with anything but guilty on all counts. So moving forward, the defense asked for the jurors to be sequestered a couple of times, once at the beginning and once when Dante Wright unrest came out. Now, the court said no. I might have asked for a mistrial at that point, but that's just me, Ben.
She would have asked for a mistrial because the court said no. Legal analyst.
And of course, those issues are preserved on appeal. Right at the very beginning, during jury selection, a civil settlement of $27 million is announced in the midst of jury selection. 2 jurors who were already sat had to be dismissed because they were biased, or the court found that they could be biased due to that settlement.
Okay, so due diligence was done. Wait, what? Wait, what? That's literally what you would have asked to have happened. Okay, they did exactly what they were supposed to. Go on. Literally no foul play. Go on.
And then, of course, more recently.
Oh, she's done talking about that. Okay. So they're just bringing up, okay, so this is if a football team lost a game and then they were like, all right, so in the third quarter, their quarterback threw it over the top and their wide receiver caught it in the end zone, and then they were awarded 6 points, and then like for real. Just listing details of the case and just being like, and then this happened, and then this happened, and just like your inflection makes it like there's corruption at play. Like, God, why can't I be a conservative YouTuber? Why can't I do this? I just want to do what they're doing. I'm sorry, this is a full confession of jealousy at this point. Like, I just want to do what they're doing. I just want to like. That's accurate. They have completely broken from reality. Yeah, like why 10 under? Why can't you do the contents? Why can't we just do this? Let's just make stuff up and say that it's real. Like, like let's just say that let's just be conservatives and let's just list off the things that Biden does, but say it like this and say it like this and be like, and did you know? And like, that's it. That's the content. That's all you gotta do. You just gotta say things that you don't like in a certain inflection, and we would be like, maybe God is real. Maybe God is real. Conservatives make something out of nothing every day. Oh! If you're watching this live or on VOD, go follow 10 Under just for that nuclear take in my chat. Like, seriously, that was a lot of fun. Real talk, that was tight. Yeah, follow, click the name and follow on through and go follow 10 Under. But yeah, like just listing things you don't like in a certain inflection and expecting people to be like, no, you right, that's some bullshit though, you right.
We have what happened with Maxine Waters, a member of the executive branch, saying that a murder conviction is the right conviction, and otherwise there's going to be consequences, essentially, that you're.
Yeah. Again, the word essentially doing a Herculean amount of heavy lifting in that sentence. Basically, Maxine Waters said that they were going to protest if they got a not guilty verdict. That's all. That's all she said. She said we were gonna be out and we are gonna be in the streets and we are gonna let our voices be heard. Is pretty much what she said. But if you think black people are scary, then yeah, that's a rather threatening. Hey, welcome to the stream, Sneedest of Sneeds. Welcome. Thank you for jumping on in. Hey, cool. Thanks, Reactionary Rob. Oh, goodness. Oh, crap. Damn. That's a big sad. Damn. Well, I guess this is like evidence that we're doing something right, you know? Like we're getting fucking raided, I guess. As this is what's happening. India power. Yeah. They've I guess this is the title of the stream. Oof. All right. Okay. All right. So ban. Ban. Whew. This is fun. Yeah, this is pretty wild. All right. Did we get everybody? Held message. Held message. Reason identity. Yeah. All right. I think that's everybody. Oh, reactionary robbed. There we go. Bye, India power. All right. Well, that was fucking wild, wasn't it? Hey. Got them 8 follows, I reckon. The fuck? Oh, hey, what's up? What it do? Out of here. Banned. Get wrecked. Freeman Derek, somebody said. What the fuck is going on? Hey! Hey! Thanks, 10 under. Feels good, friend. That was wild. All right. Let's see. Who else? Let's see. Oh, all right. Anybody else want to go ahead and make a comment in chat and get banned? Cheers for the hate raid. Yeah. That was fucking wild. That was new. That was new. That was definitely new. I don't even know. Oh crap. Oh, we got a crap load of people. All right, so I wonder if I can ban you from. Can I ban you from here? I can. Okay, you're banned. Good. Okay. Banned. Okay. Yeah, you followed 2 minutes ago. I'm gonna go ahead and ban you just to be safe. Account created 5 hours ago. Yeah, get out of here. All right, you're banned. Free Derek Chauvin, you're banned. All right, you're banned. Sater M is not banned. Account created 41 minutes ago. Yeah, you're fucking banned. That's wild. Really, just jumping on Twitch and yelling at people? Oh, sound alerts. You're banned, sound alerts. Hey. Oh, cool. That's another person. Damn it, I gotta refresh this now. Yeah. Hey. I guess so. Like, that's so fucked. Like, I'm literally a 8 follower Andy, like getting some hate. Whew. Strong for the lefties, I reckon. All right. Let's see if we can go back to here. Created 1 hour ago. Yeah. Bye. Created 5 hours ago. Later. All right, you're banned. All right. I think we got everybody. Yep, I think that's it. All right, if we get any more hate follows, we're gonna jump back into the on the ban machine. I mean, I don't think it's funny because I just switched over to OBS and I actually can't check how many I can see how many users I have in chat. So I guess I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. That person might be an actual. Wait, it was created today, so maybe we'll see. We got another follow. All right. Whew. Okay. Back to where we were. Hate by Chauvin stands. Cliff and Shiffit, I reckon. Like, what the fuck? That was wild as shit, man. Like that was cray. Whew. All right, that was something. I shouldn't say that was cray, but that was certainly something. Like, fuck. Huh. All right. Well, we'll have to keep an eye out. Okay. Legal analyst. Oh, fuck. Oh, that was wild. Like how is it? That's how fucked up leftist social media like Twitch is. That like people like I have literally 3 people watching my stream right now that are like viewers that actually are like humans watching twitch.com, right? Like I have a very small amount of people who probably know me IRL that are watching this, and I just had a metric ton of randos popping in to hate. Like you draw the hate way before you draw any follows. Holy shit. Whew. Yeah, that makes me feel like I'm doing something right. That's hey, you know what, trolls? Thank you very much. That makes me feel like I'm actually doing something positive for the first time in a while. That's some positive validation. They wouldn't be trolling. They wouldn't be in my chat trying to start some shit if I wasn't doing something correct. You know, yeah, that was way more fun than Magic coverage. Holy shit, that was like whack-a-mole for a second. But we may be back. We're gonna start this video some more, and we may have to deal with some more shit here in a second. We'll see.
Get confrontational. I understand why Eric Nelson went in there and said, I'm moving for a mistrial under these circumstances, because it's becoming incredibly evident that there are outside factors that could be impacting what happens inside the courtroom. Now, the judge said no, but he did say, and this is the saltiest I saw Cahill in this whole case, he was very upset by the comments that were happening outside of the courtroom from government officials, Maxine Waters, presumably later Joe Biden, regarding this trial, because public opinion should have nothing to do with a jury verdict. The jurors are supposed to be fair and unbiased in that jury room, deliberating on the evidence that they saw in the courtroom and nothing more.
You know, Misty, many prominent public officials have come out since the verdict and have openly said, if we didn't have millions of people in the street, we don't reach this verdict.
Okay. So I'm going to stop it right here because first of all, that's really, really fun. Let's go back to what Missy said, because like I actually have a lot to say about Ben's next little section here. So let's go back. Oh yeah. Talking about Cahill. This is how I know that this legal analyst ain't worth is not worth the time spent getting her analysis, right? Because she didn't even mention that could be a possible like grounds for appeal. Like that's the only reason they brought that up, and they had the judge say out loud that no, that wasn't cool, even though they didn't actually do anything about it. Like I've heard a few different sources say that was a strategy to like maybe get an appeal going. But yeah, that's all that happened is that he literally just brought it up and was like, yeah, Maxine Waters shouldn't have said that, but that was it. That's all they said. And it seemed like we might see a little bit about that in the future. But dude, that legal analyst lady didn't even say that. She was just like, yeah, the judge was super salty. It's awful fishy. Like that seems like that was the whole point of what she was talking about, was just to say awful fishy and like to like wag the finger, you know? But so what Ben...
Public officials have come out since the verdict and have openly said, if we didn't have millions of people in the street, we don't reach this verdict. Which to me is like game over.
True. But what people actually said, Ben, and that's what your fucking straw man said, but what people actually said was, if we didn't see people in the streets, if we didn't see rioting, we wouldn't even see charges brought. Okay, we wouldn't see actually like if this isn't taped and we don't actually have that 9-minute long video, then we don't see convictions. We don't see convictions. That's absolutely true, because we don't even see a fucking trial, right? Do you even know what the Minneapolis the Minneapolis Police Department, their press release was? Yeah, here it is. Man dies after medical incident during police interaction. On Monday, shortly after 8 p.m., police department responded to blue car appeared to be under the influence. 2 officers arrived, located the subject, ordered to step out of his car. He got out, physically resisted the officers. Not true. A blatant lie. Officers were able to get the suspect into handcuffs and noted the appearance of to be suffering from medical distress. Officers called an ambulance. He was transported to medical evidence where he died a short time after. So, yeah, that was the fucking statement that they put out. No mention of an officer doing anything wrong. This is what the system looks like. This is what the system looks like if we don't film everything. This is what the system looks like if we let this is what the system looks like if we don't protest. This is what happens when cities don't burn and precincts don't burn. Is that this is the narrative that gets pushed out there. If we don't, and so this is what people mean when they say we wouldn't have gotten a conviction. What they mean is we wouldn't have even got a trial if we weren't out in the streets protesting. That's what people mean. Ban.
As to your entire argument about bias in the criminal justice system, your entire argument is the criminal justice system is corrupt and terrible, and that in this case they got it right. But the only reason that they got it right in this case is because we had people out in the streets. That is the definition of how the criminal justice system is supposed to not work.
Yeah, it's fucking broken. That's the whole. That's why you had thousands of people celebrating and holding their breath about a guilty verdict that was essentially an open and shut case. We all had to hold our breath about it because the system is fundamentally broken. Well, fundamentally broken in that it's not helping everybody and it proposes to help everybody. Actually, it's a whole different conversation. It's actually working as intended, but that's a completely different conversation that you can have.
Is that they're not supposed to care about there's millions of people in the streets for any cause. It's supposed to be about the evidence in this particular case for this individual defendant.
Correct. And I'm a defense lawyer, Ben. So I take that to heart. Our criminal justice system is based on a defendant getting a fair trial. It's based on the presumption of innocence. It's based on the prosecution's burden to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. It's not public opinion. The notion that public opinion, it's supposed to be a positive, that public opinion sways a jury is actually terrifying to me because
yeah, that actually didn't happen. The only way public opinion swayed this jury is that they are part of the fucking public and that they saw the video before the case. Like that, like there's literally no evidence to suggest that the jury was just sitting was sitting there being like, well, I gotta convict. There's gonna be, they're gonna come after me. Like there's no evidence of that at all. And there's actually great links to prove that wasn't the case.
Again, what you need is for fair trials. Every defendant needs to be treated the same. Get a fair trial when they're in that courtroom. And
did George Floyd get a fair trial? Where is George Floyd's fair trial? Answer me that.
Decision by a jury that takes their oath seriously, needs to be based on the evidence that comes into that courtroom, the elements of the case, the prosecution's burden to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. And again,
and they did it, baby. They did it. They got it 10 times over.
And Ben, I have to say it one more time because again, this hits me close to home as a defense lawyer. Presumption of innocence. That is the cornerstone of our legal system.
Misty, let me ask about the appeals process here. So there would be great irony in Chauvin being convicted on all charges only to have the trial declared a mistrial because Maxine Waters decided to jet set into Minneapolis and ratchet up the tensions. How does the
ratchet up the tensions? Yeah, they weren't already tense. They weren't already out in the streets. Maxine Waters went out there for her own political, she basically went out there for clout. Come on now. Come on now. Like she didn't actually go out there to lead anybody, I don't think, in lead a protest. Like I think she was out there for as the kids call virtue signaling. But it's virtue. I mean, she does do good work in Congress, so I can't knock her down for that. But she was definitely a virtue signal.
Appeals process work? What are the prospects that something actually happens here, given the intense public pressure surrounding the case? It's very difficult for me to imagine that an appellate court simply decides to declare a mistrial after the most celebrated criminal justice case in modern American history, and after you have full-scale open celebration by the president and vice president of the United States of the verdict.
Yeah, no, and look, Ben, it goes up into the appeals court in Minnesota. So, there's certainly an element of it that's going to be, it's in that venue, it's in that jurisdiction, and appellate courts don't usually like to overturn trial verdicts, and that's on any case. So you make some really good points. If they're doing their job, the public opinion is not a part of the analysis. Look, I think the Maxine Waters comment, that threw oil on an already burning fire with respect to appellate issues. And they all have to be looked at in the totality, right? We can't just look at her comment and say, oh, poo-poo that. We have to look at it in the context of what the defense had requested to ensure that the defendant did get a fair trial, and how that all look at her comment and say, oh, poo-poo that. We have
Legal analyst. Oh, poo-poo that. That was my favorite part about what she said in this whole thing. I know I'm like 5, but I don't care. Oh, poo-poo that.
On an already burning fire with respect to appellate issues. And they all have to be looked at in the totality, right? We can't just look at her comment and say, oh, poo-poo.
Actually, you fucking totally can. You totally can say, yeah, she said that. That sucks. Moving on.
That we have to look at it in the context of what the defense had requested to ensure that the defendant did get a fair trial, and how that all played out, what the judge decided, and whether or not that is judicial error that can be overturned. Now, the analysis is based on whether or not the result would have been different, whether it would have had a meaningful impact on the ultimate result or the jury if something had been different, if one of these appellate issues is seen as error. So that's the standard. It's not an easy standard.
Yeah, fun fact, this entire video, they were talking about how it was an 11-hour deliberation. That 11-hour deliberation they keep talking about actually works against her own argument here. Because that 11-hour deliberation is kind of like more saying they were less in doubt than anything, like that Maxine Waters didn't they weren't going to convict into innocent and then suddenly just start to wane over and get convinced into guilty because of fucking Maxine Waters. No, the 11-hour deliberation, that sounds like a very determined and convinced jury. That's what that says to me.
But I would submit to you that there were other issues as well in this case, and they had to do with the scope of some of the testimony. Now, the bystander witnesses, again, the first question is, are these witnesses relevant? And look, they're bystanders. They're going to be relevant, right? It's relevant to the case. But the next question is, what about the scope of their testimony? Observations that they saw, okay. But these questions about how did that make you feel? I'm a New York lawyer. They say we're feisty. I would be doing jumping jacks in the courtroom.
Correct.
Objection. That has nothing to do with the case. And the analysis is proven.
1, they didn't do that. 2, no, it's totally relevant. It's the emotional testimony. They watched someone die in front of them. Like, what the hell? Like, that's a part of the experience, lady. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Like in any other case where you had an eyewitness to a murder, you would ask them how they felt. Literally any other case. I'm pretty sure this person's never been in a courtroom before. If she's a legal analyst, I don't think she's ever seen a court case before.
Probative value, which means facts that are going to lead to evidence, or evidence that's going to lead to facts in the case, or versus prejudice. So probative versus prejudice, and probative is supposed to be higher. Probative has to be more probative than prejudicial. And to ask these young kids, 17-year-olds, a 9-year-old, the clerk of the store, it was emotional. And the prosecution's case was largely emotional, and I would say it was impactful, certainly on television and probably to a jury. But I submit to you and our listeners.
What? Certainly on television and probably to the jury. As if a human being in the same room with another human is not going to have more impact than a damn TV. Jesus. Tap dancing Christ.
And if I'm drafting this appeal, I'm focused on the fact that that was just so far outside of the scope of what is relevant and so highly prejudicial that it would be error that needs to be revisited on appeal. And I just want to make it clear, I'm not saying the jury got it wrong. I personally don't feel that I'm in a position to say what's right or wrong, because again, public opinion, my opinion, that doesn't matter. But the cornerstone of our democracy, the cornerstone of our legal system is a fair trial. And all of these issues absolutely need to be addressed in the appeals process and see where that goes. You've flagged some concerns. Again, if judges are doing what they're supposed to do, they are to look at this through the lens of what is correct under the legal standards without respect to what's going on in the public.
And that's exactly what they did this entire case, and that's why they convicted that man of the thing he did. All right. So that's enough of that. Okay. So what we are going to do now is we are going to have a bit of a palate cleanser. I have exhausted everything that I wanted to say about the Chauvin trial. We are going to have a little bit of some funny fun, some TikToks from my friend. If you've ever worked retail in your life, you will understand what this person has to say. It's a bit of a palate cleanser. The Chauvin trial is pretty heavy. I'm going to change up the title of the stream because we are moving into toxic masculinity next. I'm very excited. All right.
You just lost yourself a customer. You think I own this business? You think I own IKEA? I'm a part-time employee halfway through a 2-week notice. I don't give a shit. I'm telling all my friends not to shop here. Tell them. You think I want 5 other yous running around the store? Have them call me, I'll tell them. You think you hate this place more than me? I work here. I know the sale ended last week, but can I still get a discount? Do you hear yourself? We can't go backwards. Time marches on. You want the sale from 15 years ago, too? When's it end, Diane? You want that price? You're gonna have to go through the quantum realm with Ant-Man. Do you know how much money I spend here? More than you should. The meatballs ain't that good. Save your money. End my time. Doesn't matter how much you spend here. We don't thank our donors. This isn't PBS. Every time I come here, my order gets messed up. Then stop coming. Make my day. Every time you come here, your order's messed up. Sounds like you're making the mistake. Look inward. You're ordering the wrong shit. I'd like to speak to your manager. I'd like to speak to your mother. Tell her she should be embarrassed. She raised someone to act like a baby in public. You want to speak to the manager, please? The manager doesn't know what's going on. Haven't you ever worked anywhere before? I know that's not right. I used to work here. Well, things change. Sorry they didn't run it by you first. You used to work here. Well, I used to be happy. Then you walked in. Can you just check in the back? Can you just accept we don't have it? The back ain't some magical place. What do you think is back there? Santa's workshop? The only thing back there is a clipboard with our schedules and some brownies Darcy brought in. The website said it was in stock, and what do your eyes say?
What do your eyes
Sometimes
say?
it's wrong. The website also has pictures of employees smiling. You see that? You go yell at your computer instead of me. It'll get you the same result. Nothing. This is cheaper at other stores. Then shop there. Why are you here? We need directions? I'll get you some. I'll call you an Uber. Cheaper at other stores. I don't set the prices. I'm a seasonal employee. You working hard or hardly working? I'm hardly laughing. I'm already at work. I don't have time for a second job pretending you're funny. Why don't you tell me something I don't hear every day? Like, thank you. You should open up more registers, and who's gonna work them? You think I'm the only one ringing you up because I called dibs? You want me to clone myself, or are you saying you want to apply? Well, you see we're short-handed. Where's your resume? I can't believe they have you working Thanksgiving. I can't believe you're shopping. Why do you think I'm here? It's because of you. I have to stand here for 15 hours so you can yell at me instead of your family. I work retail. I don't even remember what Thanksgiving is. The customer is always right. About what? How to piss me off? You think you're God because you went shopping? You're not infallible, Susan. You're at the mall. Always right. That's why you're on your 9th try hitting the button for credit. Do you?
Okay. All right. So that's enough of that one for now. I think that served its purpose. I feel adequately cleansed of the palate. But now I have to hit the restroom, so I'm going to go do that, and I will be back. And when we come back, we will be talking about some toxic masculinity. So please don't go anywhere. And stream's on upstairs, so bots, if you have at it, I'm going to be back down here to ban your ass anyway. So yeah, thanks. All right. All right. All right. Hey, did not know you could hear all that. Hello. We back. Okay. Oh crap. Give me that dark mode. Yes. Yes. I wish to proceed. Okay. So, thank you so much for your patience and sticking around with me. I really, really appreciate it. I wonder how many users we still have in chat. Do we still have all those bots? Good question, right? Nope. All the bots are gone. We have sound alerts in chat, apparently. All right, cool. So now, yeah, we are going to get back into, dip right back into some discussions about toxic masculinity. If nobody's here live, we'll just talk about it. You'll see it on VOD. Okay, so one of my favorite topics that I've kind of always wanted to discuss on Twitch is toxic masculinity, right? And how it affects men, and how it like kind of holds us back, right? And how men are both trapped by and have to adhere to a set of rules that, you know, basically, I guess the first thing we should do is define toxic masculinity. Like, what is? And what toxic masculinity is basically it creates an idealized an idea of what a real man or an ideal man is, and then judges men against that standard. This is the definition of toxic masculinity. So, and the thing is that the standard that is set for men is actually an impossible one, because it's always shifting and always changing. The ideas for what men have to, or the ring that men are trying to grab, I should say, for masculinity, is the goalpost is constantly being moved, right? So once a guy achieves a certain level of being a manly man, a masculine man, then suddenly the goalpost is moved further, and that person's not enough, right? And that's kind of what masculinity, or at least the toxic masculinity, ends up doing, is that people end up not thinking they're enough, and not and it's just a spiral of self-esteem, right? So the first thing I kind of wanted to talk about when kind of exploring toxic masculinity and speaking about it in culture is I wanted to take a look at incel culture. Now, apparently Twitch doesn't care too much for that word, so I'm going to try to use it less, maybe. But we'll see. This has been a wild ass stream already anyway, so it might just get ripped off of twitch.com. So anyway, yeah, we're still streaming. Okay, so anyway, this, what I'm going to start with is a Vice clip from 2 years ago, from HBO. Or it's from Vice on HBO before Vice had their own channel, and this is like kind of like sparked the discourse around incels, where people were talking about it as more of like a cultural movement. People, so I think they explained what it is in this video, but I haven't watched it in 2 years. But yeah, get your popcorn out and let's listen about what it's like in the world of incels. Oh, shit. Forgot. Almost forgot. Um, I have to look up how that word's spelled. That's unfortunate. Sorry, boomering around. Give me just a second. get our content warning here. All right. Oh, what the heck? Oh, let's turn it on. There we are. All right, cool. Okay. Just need to get that on out of there.
Ellie, I'm going to fireball multiple government buildings, Ellie. My name is Spaft, S-P-A-F-T. I live in the United Kingdom. Within the next few months, I'm going to fireball the cities. Remember that. And if you don't report me to the police, it's on your conscience, honey.
Those are kind of sarcastic bits.
This is a performance. For the cameras and for me, a woman. Because this is a chat room of incels. Virgins spread across 3 continents.
These are my friends. This guy's name, we call him Prince. Bald already. This is a guy named Dank. He's a compulsive liar. Yeah, Joey's this vice bitch still there. Written by fuck you. And that's just how we talk though, you know? Like, this bitch, that nigga, this, that, you know? Like, it's just like vulgar.
Okay, I didn't know that we were gonna just drop in the N-word just casually in this. Crap. Hey, thanks, 10 Under. I guess we just keep on rolling. Crap, I forgot how awful this video was. I'm not sure if we can keep watching this. Yeah. Yeah, I think we're not going to watch this anymore. I think I'm a little worried about, like, it's just going to be... I'm surprised it's probably demonetized on the old YouTubes, but I'm a little worried that we're going to get hit, you know? Like, that's an awful lot. But anyway, okay, but we know what an incel is. We got the idea off of that, 1 minute of footage. And I think we got enough of this video to kind of get the idea of what I wanted to talk about. And that's like, essentially is that incel culture is one that focuses on negativity almost exclusively. And I wonder if let's see if we can skip forward. Talking about stuff. I wanted to go here.
Where a male archetype named Chad talks to women with ease and is rewarded with sex.
Christ Jesus. I'm not watching this anymore. Good Lord. Okay. So, that was intense. That's vibe for toxic masculinity section. Yeah. That's the vibe for the toxic masculinity section. Exactly. So, yeah, they focus almost exclusively on negativity, right? Like, even when he was describing his so-called friends, that person was like, yeah, here's this person, he's a compulsive liar. Here's this person, he's bald. Here's this person, as if bald's a negative thing. Bald's a very positive thing, by the way. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a culture that focuses almost exclusively on negativity, right? Like on essentially focusing on what's wrong with you. And that's kind of what they talk about when people talk about taking the black pill. And that's the black pill basically is the realization or the conclusion that you've come to that there's no hope for you. You're going to quote unquote die alone, and that you're just going to be alone forever. You're never going to be with a woman, and if you are with a woman, it'll be like miserable, and you're never going to find love or connection, and that's not going to happen for you. And for whatever reason, that is. Now, it's interesting because a lot of incel culture, and I think what we're gonna find on a lot of these videos we watch, because guess what, chat, I've got a bunch of videos for you, none of which I've screened, in which people like try to answer the question why I'm an incel, right? This one came out earlier this year. This is the AMA. But like, it's very interesting because everyone seems to think that it's a combination of that society is stacked against you to the point of like that you absolutely, it's impossible to meet someone or to meet the person that you want, but also they have to focus on like their personal appearance as well, because that has to go with the narrative of what a person who lives in this culture, what they can't attain. Like, for them, physical appearance matters a whole lot. So that's a projection. Like what you'll hear a lot of these people say is that they're ugly or that they're short or that they're unattractive. A lot of that is projection because physical outward attributes is what they find very, very important in a partner that they're looking for. And them not presenting physically attractive is in their mind why they're not as successful. It's because they're not fulfilling a need. And that's a fundamental flaw in that thinking, right? Is thinking that people are attracted to the same things that you're attracted to, or that they hold value in the same things that you hold value in. But let's get started. I guess we can start with this one. Oh, it's not Vice, so it won't be as bad, hopefully.
Towards women?
Like what I think of them?
If you could summarize your opinion towards women?
Like what I think of them?
Yes.
I do think they are very important, but...
That's hilarious.
Some topics are hard to approach.
More and more male hatred against women is rising up.
You might call this a new phenomenon.
Either the subjects are inaccessible or people are uncomfortable discussing them.
If you're an ugly guy, you better get a good job and make some money, because nobody's gonna want to talk to you.
Girls, I will destroy you.
You don't deserve to get laid at all!
So we found those subjects in person, rented a space in Hollywood, and invited our audience and any strangers walking by to come inside and ask them anything.
Fun.
Okay. Hey, I'm Brendio. I also go by Derek. I'm an incel, and I'm here to answer people's questions about the topic.
I hope I'm not gonna get hit for this. This stream's a mess.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm good.
So you're an incel?
Yes.
Why would you ever sign up to do this?
I suppose I would want to give more of a positive light on this community, which is a very negative light upon it.
Okay, and do you think that's a good thing?
Yes.
Why is that?
Because a lot of the boys in this community aren't bad people.
But you acknowledge that a good handful of them are, right?
Not a good handful, I would say a small handful.
Who?
That guy, this person's weirding me out. Like, why are you like, this person's wanting to talk to you. You're just wanting to talk to face forward to the camera. I don't know. Like, maybe that was a direction that they were given, but that was just odd.
A lot of the boys in this community aren't bad people.
But you acknowledge that a good handful of them are, right?
Not a good handful, I'd say a small handful.
Who?
It's so weird.
Hurt
so
you, or
weird.
what happened? What event sort of catalyzed this way of thinking and you getting into this kind of research?
Society.
Do you hate women?
No.
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 Do you have a female role model in your life?
A female role model?
Yeah, like a mom or an aunt or a friend?
I mean, I love my mom. I wouldn't necessarily consider her a role model, but I do love her quite a bit.
If a woman was elected as president of the United States, how would you react?
I don't know. It probably would depend on the woman. I probably wouldn't be supportive of it, honestly, but.
Why do you say that, if you don't mind me asking?
I do think that men should be the leaders and women should be the caregivers and the.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty common belief in that old incel community to kind of hold like tradition, hold more quote unquote traditional views of what men and women should do in a family. And honestly, that's where a lot of folks end up, because really, incel at its core is just a social issue, right? It's really not being able to connect with people romantically. That's the core of the issue. And what that comes from, I think, for a lot of people, is that a lot of guys, like this person, a lot of folks basically kind of get into the, it looks like he's looking right at me. That's really funny. But basically, like, a lot of folks like this guy, they assume that the world should be a certain way, and when it's not that way, they think that that traditional way was correct, and when the traditional ideals don't become reality for them, they assume that something's wrong. Not that society has evolved, not that we've gotten better. They assume that something is wrong with the world, and that comes from a place of not wanting to grow, right?
The loving, supporting, and the teachers in some cases.
Since women of color, or just women in general, have been oppressed by certain systems and other oppressed communities, especially the LGBTQ+, all those don't really fit with the spectrum that incels or you have been talking about. So why do you think your method of thought would help fix what we have today?
I probably wouldn't view the things that you might view as oppression. I have a feeling. I would view it more as how we treat children that we love. We control them, but we control them lovingly,
what?
not as a slave, not as we're forcing them to do things against.
Oof, guy. Gonna talk about minorities as children, eh? Woof. I actually wasn't expecting this video to go so hard in the into the racism and misogyny ideals. Like, you have assumptions about incels, but woof. Yeah. This face kind of says it all, right?
Against their will. I would view it more as a loving domestic thing in the past. And I would say that if we were to do it in a civilized way, maybe in a more, even a Christian way, even though I'm not really advocating for a certain religion or ideology. I would assume that women would probably be happier. And I wouldn't just assume that blindly. I would assume that based on the data that I have seen.
What
data you've
that
seen.
has brought you to this conclusion? Because
Citation needed, motherfucker.
I'm now curious where I can get this data from.
I couldn't reference it offhand, but I believe there was a study that
a chart on Reddit.com.
I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head.
I do believe it was the study from the University of Reddit.com.
Areas that create behavior in women that you think is a problem.
Promiscuity leads to increased standards in more primitive aspects, such as looks, and that typically makes it harder for some people to find a relationship, including sometimes good-looking people. Like, there's guys who are much better looking than I am, who are having a really hard time finding someone in a place like LA or in London or in Auckland, New Zealand.
It's just really funny that, like, the answer's staring them right in the face, right? Like, a lot of these incels, you'll talk about, like, oh, this good-looking guy is totally in our community. It's so weird. It's almost as if your outward appearance isn't the problem. Like, it's almost as if your interaction with society and how you receive culture and how you are perceiving culture, it's almost as if that's the problem, right?
But they probably would have a perfectly fine time finding a woman somewhere else.
So you think that promiscuity is the problem, and if people were more monogamous and more withholding, that would sort of fix society?
Yeah, I suppose people were more traditionalist.
There have been a few mass shootings in the past where
Sign motherfucking needed. Seriously, citation needed on that. I need to see the data that people not fucking more often leads to society being better, like at any measurable metric.
these shooters actually stated that they were incels or were radicalized by online incels. What do you think about their
But that's like the churched up version of like the old incel argument, you know, right? Like they're saying the it's a weird paradox of I'm not getting laid because of all these sluts.
shootings in the past where these shooters actually stated that they were incels or were radicalized by online incels? What do you think about their actions?
I condemn their actions. I don't believe I don't believe violence is the solution. I don't believe attacking random people is going to fix anything, whether they're, women or men. I do think that the reason why they committed those actions was probably because of
the flop sweat.
Or out
The
of,
flop sweat.
He's
not. He's wishing he didn't bring this sweatshirt. The flop sweat is coming.
Mental problems that probably could have been prevented had the right support was in their community, in their household. If people saw what they were posting and saw what they were experiencing in life and did something to help them.
Was there like a pivotal moment in your life, like a straw that broke the metaphorical camel's back?
It's constant years of rejection, no matter who the person was, constant years of rejection in other aspects of my life. It did kind of push me towards more, I suppose, radical beliefs, but I suppose they're only like radical, but they're more just old beliefs, really.
No, it sounds like I had another like metaphor, like death by 1,000 cuts. It's not like one pivotal moment, but it sounds like a bunch of things built up over time.
Yeah.
One of the common criticisms about the incel community is that you feel entitled to sex or intimacy. Do you believe that you deserve sex or intimacy from a woman?
I think everybody at some level deserves someone that loves them and, respects them, as long as you are also loving and respectful towards that person. They're an
Fun fact, you don't deserve shit. Nobody owes you a goddamn thing. Just remember that. Just seriously, if you walk away from this stream with nothing else, if you don't understand a single word that I say from before or after this, just walk away with this. Nobody owes you a goddamn thing.
Equal, you're not like seeking someone
unless they've taken something from you. Then get in their asshole until you get what you're owed. But unless someone's directly taken something from you, nobody owes you a goddamn thing.
Beyond yourself, you don't have like too high standards, I suppose.
If you can tell the world about something about being incel that that may not be in the internet or that's overlooked heavily, what would it be?
I don't know. I think it's mostly that most of the men are not.
That may not be in the internet or.
That person, they're an equal. You're not like seeking someone beyond yourself. You don't have like too high standards, I suppose.
If you can tell the world about something about being incel that that may not be in the internet or that's overlooked heavily, what would it be?
I don't know. I think it's mostly that most of the men are not inherently bad people. A lot of them are just lonely. They just need some help, really.
Okay. Would you?
True. Hey, true. That's actually what we're going to get into. That's exactly what we're talking about. Just getting back, if this is the same one's video. No, this isn't the Vice video. This is Jubilee. I couldn't watch any more of that fucking Vice video. There was like some weird drawings on it, and it was TOS to shit. Okay, so that's why we're not watching the Vice video anymore. But this one's been better. Now this is the Ask an Incel Anything video. That's what this one is.
Say that there's anything that other people can do to help guide or just support or anything?
The lonely person in your class or the lonely person in your workplace, maybe he's an incel and he's not letting you know, and he's just kind of afraid he wants someone positive. Just be nice, say hi, try and make friends with him. You don't have to date him, you don't have to whatever, just brighten up someone lonely's day, I suppose.
Okay, noted. Thank you.
You don't want to be an incel?
No.
Why not?
Well, I mean, it's part of the whole involuntarily thing. I mean, you want to try and escape it. You want to be something better. You want to get a wife, get a girlfriend, get someone who loves you, spend your life with them, and be happy. And
What's one thing you wish people understood better about you?
I don't know. I guess I wish people would recognize how much effort I'm trying, I suppose. Like, I'm working out typically daily. I've lost over 100 pounds. I'm out there job hunting actively. I don't think people recognize how much effort the incels in general try to put into bettering themselves. I would say, people don't recognize their effort. They just assume that they're all like lazy and sad and angry at women and just giving up and things of that nature, I suppose.
Okay.
You don't have to see the bad things in the world and then come out a bad person. You can just see the bad things in the world and then improve upon yourself because of them, I suppose.
So you do have hope.
Yeah, I have hope, yeah. I'm a very hopeful person, I suppose.
I won't lie, this went a lot differently than I thought it would. I thought we'd be yelling at each other,
It was nice to meet you.
It was nice to meet you too.
Thank you so much.
Hello. Upon yourself because of them, I suppose.
So you do have hope.
I'm a very hopeful person.
Differently than I thought it would.
Okay. This person is weird as fuck, okay? Like, nobody else did this whole video. No one else half answered their questions into the camera like this asshole, okay? All right, I have plenty to say about the incel, but I have to get out. This person weirded me out, okay? I don't know if it's too performative or what, but like, it made me deeply uncomfortable. Okay. So, kind of going back, there's some really interesting things that you're going to see as common threads throughout this. Something that I've noticed about incel culture is that it is a uniquely heterosexual phenomenon. Like, I've never heard of a heterosexual male phenomenon that, because I haven't heard of too many. I've heard of, I have plenty of gay friends that don't get laid as often as they'd like. But they're just like, thirsty. They don't identify as incels. Like, incel culture is very, very specific, I think, to heterosexual male culture. And that's kind of goes back to the traditionalism bit, right? Like that they wish that the world was traditional. And when asked, like, it's like these ideas are like kind of like softballed, but they're still there, Like, she asked them whether or not people, they asked, do you feel entitled to sex? Okay. And that's a kind of confrontational wording, right? Are you entitled? But he said, but I think everybody on some level deserves. So yes, that's what they're saying. Yes, they deserve sex, and you should give it. So like, it's one of those things to where, and it's so wild that like, when asked like, what do you want to say about the incel community that people don't know? He came up with, well, I want people to know that we are trying to improve ourselves. We are trying to be better, to be more, essentially, I think that they're saying that they're trying to make themselves more desirable. Right. But what I think a lot of folks don't realize is that self-improvement, it's not like the Jordan Peterson, clean your fucking room, get a shave, lose some weight type of self-improvement. It's the self-improvement of figuring out how you interact with people and how you give and receive affection. Like, there's so much more work that's emotional work that needs to be done that a lot of guys don't realize. Like, what I think a lot of the incel community thinks that they need to improve is a lot of physical stuff, and it's a lot of like that toxic, like they think they need to become Chad, right? And it's a flawed philosophy, isn't it? Because like because Chad's a bad guy, right? Like Chad is evil, or just at least somebody that we don't want to be. Maybe, I don't know, maybe because like I can't, it seems to me that like incel culture is kind of caught between wanting to be Chad and also hating Chad, you know, because you're not going to start suddenly liking Chad once you become that person. And I think that comes to the center of like what incel culture is all about, is that it's about kind of self-hatred, right? That's why you kind of willingly, you know, he claims that they want to be out of it, but they are embracing the identity of incel, right? It's a self-hatred. Like I said, it's an entire identity based around self-hatred. So I totally get it that like that's why you know, it's so negative, and like because it's the entire ideology from its base is based in hating yourself, and by extension hating women, because they are not fixing you, you know. Go back to what he said earlier about like the role of women,
aspects such as looks, and that typically makes it harder for some people to find a relationship, including sometimes good-looking people.
And that you think is a problem.
Promiscuity leads to increased standards in more primitive aspects such as.
yeah. So basically that's like the cleaned up version of all these sluts, man. So like basically the idea that women need to be more traditional, because if women were more traditional, that would like change the sexual equity or whatever. And also like it seems like they're working towards the wrong goal. Like they complain that society doesn't function the way that they want, and then they start working towards as if society did function that way. You know, like they try to like they say, well, you know, the reason why I'm not getting laid is because women don't think men are like the proper breadwinners anymore. But I'm going to make myself a breadwinner, and that's going to totally work in the system that I just said is broken. So like it seems like it's a flawed premise, right? But yeah, let's you know, I will say kudos to this person for having the courage to come on stage and be like, yeah, everybody's going to yell at me for a while. This is on a college campus. Let's go. You know, like that's kind of how it felt. But yeah, they put themselves out there. They're very misguided, but you know, they put themselves and their beliefs out on Front Street, and you know, they get a little bit of half backhanded respect for that, but they're still very, very misguided. I think the piece that I took away from this that was most interesting to me was when he said that incels are just sad people that need help. And I think that's the refrain that we're going to have to keep returning to when going through these videos, is that there's not evil people. It's just that they're very, very misguided, and now they've created an internet community that's giving them guidance in the exact wrong direction. And that guidance says that you're not good enough. Society is wrong and has done you wrong, and also you suck, you know. And just take this black pill and start hating women, you know. And like that seems like, you know, for people who are very vulnerable and hurting, it seems like the exact opposite of what they need to hear, but it also makes sense as to why people fall into it, you know. So let's hear from some self-proclaimed incels, and we will, again, I've watched one of these, but all right, let's go.
Hey guys, just thought I'd make a video here tonight talking about the reasons why I think I'm going to give a list, and then I'm going to go in later on details in other video, you know, in future videos, go into details.
Oh shit!
Into detail.
This is the beginning of a series. Oh shit!
Details of each reason of why I think I'm destined to be, like I said, incel. I don't really like using that term because it's really, I'm like Monday Blue on his channel. If you've ever watched Monday Blue, Monday FA, I like to watch this. It's more than just sex. I mean, if it was just sex, you'd go out and get a prostitute, right? If that was all that you needed to satisfy you, you'd just go out and get sex, you know. Go to get a one-night stand at the bar, even though that would be hard for us too. But, you know, it's more like he said, it's FA, which he calls forever alone. And because it's relationships, we're not able to have a relationship.
The black pill, that's what we were talking about. Forever alone is essentially the black pill.
Relationship with a woman. It's not even much about just getting laid. You know, that's not the point, which I don't care about that. Getting laid. That's not... If I did that, I would just go study game and try to go to a bar and get women. That's not what I'm going to, out to do. But I'm going to go into future details in, future videos detailing each reason. But right now, I'm just going to give you the list of reasons that I think I am destined to be that. Number one, the benzo withdrawal. If you don't know what benzo withdrawal is or psychiatric drug withdrawal is, look it up. Go on Wikipedia and look it up. There actually is an article now about it. And what I have is known as protracted benzo withdrawal. It is horrible. I've had it since 2010.
Real talk, this is not where I expected this video to go.
It actually started in 2008, and I got put on meds again, so, at that time, because I didn't know what the hell was going on. But it's been all total, I've been off all these medications since 2010, and it's almost 2020, so there you go. It's been almost 10 years, for goodness sakes. And it's a horrible thing to go through, and there's just no way as a man. A woman can always get a man, so that's not really an issue, but it is almost impossible for a man if he...
Thanks, 10 Under. That's really sweet of you. I really appreciate that. Oh, God. What happened?
He is not in a relationship. Unless his symptoms are not physical, there is no way he can get into a relationship with a woman. So, number one is definitely the benzo withdrawal. Number two, I would definitely say my autistic disorder. I am on what they call the autistic spectrum. So, people on the autistic spectrum have different problems. Some are worse some people can be on the spectrum and they'll have symptoms similar to mine, but they'll have worse, one symptom for them will be worse than mine. Like some of they may be more, worse at social awkwardness than me, or they may be worse at coordination problems, than me, sort of that way. But my main issues are the social awkwardness, the learning disabilities, which I've always had, which is the reason I got on the benzos, which I'll go through in another video. I had that, and I also have the poor motor skills, the coordination. I have what they call the little motor problems in my fingers. It's just I'm not very coordinated, and it's hard for me to take directions. Like, if you pointed out, go over there, Shane, I need you to help me fix this Coke machine here, we need, we got to do this. Hand me a so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so, and, hand me a so-and-so wrench or so-and-so something, I don't comprehend that. I try, but of course then I would get nervous, and of course that's going to make it worse, right? So I have that problem too, and there's just no way to get in a relationship with a woman if you're having a lot of autistic problems. There's just no way. And I don't have the social skills to meet women. I just don't have. I've tried.
Hey, if you're watching this on VOD, if you're in chat right now, this is 100% not true. You can absolutely find a partner as an autistic person, or if you don't have great social skills, it's absolutely something that is more than it's definitely not just there's no way. That's not true. You absolutely can find a partner. Just saying, you absolutely can find a partner if you are someone who is, quote, on the spectrum, as he said.
And it's a difficult thing. And Monday Blue is right. He made a series of videos called The System of FA, and he's right that it ain't just one thing for most of us. It's been a series of things in our lives that have kept us alone, because I'm not just alone with women. I mean, I'm alone in friendships, pretty much. I had a few friends in my life, but not many. And I'm pretty much alone now, except for my family. And the system of FA, like he was saying, it's just problems just kept mounting and mounting and mounting. Unlike other people, you didn't have ways, to meet people. But that's the second reason would be my autistic disorder. The third reason, I'm poor. And that also leads from the autism. I never was able to really work. Like, I can work around the house and do things there, but like job, I never was able to do. I had a job when I first got out of school. I went to work at a grocery store, and it just didn't go well. I was about 19 years old, and it went horribly wrong. I know I was going to get fired. I messed up things. It's hard to explain. It's hard to remember it all now. It was so long ago, but let's just say it was not good. Everything went wrong. But it was that. And, what happens if you don't work unless you're born into wealth? We have no money.
Okay. So I think we pretty much got the idea from this guy. Like, I really actually like that we stumbled across this video because I think that it really the name of this channel is Zoloft Sucks. Oh no. Oh no, the name of this channel is Zoloft Sucks. Anyway, so like I legit think that I legit think that this is a great video for us to watch right now because this is not a bad person, right? This is somebody he said he didn't even like the name incel because probably because like it's associated with a lot of the culture. Like he's obviously this is somebody who doesn't identify with the incel culture, doesn't buy into, I don't think, the misogyny, but is still feeling the negative effects of the culture and of the sentiment, right? And I think this is going to go back to why incels believe that they're not good enough. All of those reasons go back to kind of like hegemonic ideals about what is desirable and what is valuable in our society. Because like according to this person, he is literally incapable of finding a partner because he's not rich enough and he has autism, and because what was the first one? I can't even remember now. But yeah, and no social skills. And like the social skills you can kind of work on, right? Like you can coach yourself up into being good at social skills. But I want to speak to more of the autism and the money. And that's kind of like what you're going to kind of keep coming back to about incel culture, is that it's born out of the constant pressures of capitalism. Surprise, this is a capitalism bad stream. But really that's what it all boils down to, right? Like the hegemonic ideals that are born out of capitalism as to what is valuable is that hegemony or hegemonic society, or at least like pushing people into that, wants everybody to be productive, and what that translates to in America is that if you've got a lot of money, people assume that you're productive, right? If you can speak well and if you can think the way other people think, they assume you're productive, right? And I think that like production equals value. So these men think that they're less valuable because they're not adhering to the standards of how they're supposed to be, right? Like of what the ideal man is supposed to look like, and what the ideal man, like what they're supposed to, their place in the world and society. They're not fulfilling that role, so they feel like they're less valuable and that they have no value, and that's why they're alone. And that's why not only they're alone now, but they will forever be alone, because this guy can't just suddenly snap his fingers and not be poor. Right? You can't suddenly snap your fingers and, not be an autistic person. Right? So the logical conclusion is if you believe those are objectively undesirable traits, it's going to lead you down that path to believe that you are objectively undesirable. And again, for anybody who needs to hear it, objectively not true. Autistic people find love every single day. People who don't have social skills or don't think they're attractive find love every single day. And it's definitely it's just a lie about value that is perpetuated not only by the incel culture, but obviously, like, you know, it's a lie people tell themselves. Like, I would understand if this person was like on Reddit every day and he was just, and it seems like there is obviously a YouTube video that's like kind of radicalized this person, or a series, and that's where he's getting most of his ideas from. But even then, like, those ideals wouldn't take hold if you didn't already have, like, if they weren't kind of already festering, you know, if they need to resonate with something. And this person already had some self-worth and self-esteem issues that I think the incel mindset and the incel ideals kind of prey on, right? It's already vulnerable people being preyed on by a predatory ideology.
So I don't have money to take women out on dates. I don't have money to buy anything much at all. Travel, buy anything. I certainly couldn't buy a house. I can't buy a house. I can't buy an apartment. I couldn't buy a car. I can't do any of those things. And in our society, I mean, it's pretty much everywhere, but especially obviously here in the United States where I live, the man pretty much does it all. I mean, he really does. People can say, well, you know, the woman does, but the man has to.
Yep, there you go. There's that same, what we were talking about in the last video, is those traditional ideals of it being a patriarchal society, and that is the correct way to be. And it's a standard set that they place that's unattainable because like I said, the goalpost is always going to be moved. If you have a house, you won't have a big enough house. If you have a car, you won't have a nice enough car. It's like that goalpost keeps getting pushed forward, and it all centers around the idea of the patriarchy, right? And that the patriarchy must be adhered to, and it must be met with both worthy men and complicit women. Like, you need both sides of that coin. And, you know, incels tend to complain that neither one of those exist.
A woman can be, and I'm not trying to be a woman hater here, I'm just giving facts.
Oh, God.
That a woman can be nothing, literally, other than her looks or whether you're attracted or whatever. She can be an absolute loser in her life, right? I mean, just a failure. And she can still make a man. A man.
Jesus fucking Christ, dude. Maybe examine how you look at women, friend. Because that's the thing, too, is like, this guy started out this video being like, well, I don't want just sex. I want a love and a connection. And then turns around and says a woman can be nothing and end up happy in their lives. It sounds like you've got some kind of fucked up views about, like, fulfillment, right? Like, in personhood. You know, and I think that's kind of where a lot of this boils down, where it ends up, is that a lot of people don't fully think through women's autonomy and women's personhood. And I think that's where a lot of these ideals kind of fester.
And he'll take her, he'll take care of her, he'll marry her. And that's one option a woman has, a man does not. If she comes from a poor family, like I did, you know, we didn't have a lot of money. My dad died, and we just didn't have a lot of money. And I grew up with a single mom because my father died of cancer. And that's what happens. When he died, she didn't remarry because her marriage was, I'm not going to get into all that, but it was a good marriage, and she didn't want to get remarried, and which is fine with me. I don't know if I'd have wanted a stepdad, but the point was we had no money. We were very poor, and that costed me. I couldn't afford to get a car at 16. I couldn't drive anyway. I'll get into that later. But, you know, there you go. No way to date, no way to have friends, no way to do much of anything.
I'll skip forward just a little bit.
For dating and really developing these things is between the ages of 15 and 25, and some people, of course, get married before 25. Well, I had none of those things. I did absolutely nothing until I was 25, you know, in that way. So I was completely behind, you know, everybody. But, yeah, that was definitely not... She might keep up a real alpha type guy, but he's going to have special skills, man, to do that, because if you're a penniless guy, you ain't got a job yet, you ain't getting no women. You're certainly not going to get married. You're not going to get a long-term relationship. Well,
Okay, so we've already run through our reasons, and then we're just going to explain why capitalism bad. Okay, so yeah, that's that's pretty good. Because I don't think this person's necessarily like an evil guy. He's just misguided. You know, he's been taken in with the ideas that being that in order to be valuable to women and to society, you have to make a certain amount of money. And most like in most of the real wealth in this country is, you know, it's inherited, or at least it's comes from a place of privilege. And if you don't have privilege, you're just, you know, shit out of luck. Like that's where I think a lot of the incel mindset comes from. All right, so moving on. Being an incel, this one's only 5 minutes. Okay. Being an incel doesn't bother me. Okay. Well, actually, yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot we have Odin's been here in a little bit. Okay. Being an incel doesn't bother me. Let's go.
Like, I really want to emphasize the fact that I use the term Yeah, so I've like said this before, but like I really want to emphasize the fact that I use the term incel very loosely because, you know, the connotations with that word are pretty bad. And, you know, I just don't want to give the impression that I'm like on forums and
Incels started like shooting people, and nobody wants that label anymore.
stuff, or, you know, like planning a school shooting. And, you know, I most definitely like don't consider it part of my identity. I'm only using that word because it's sort of the only word that's like popular.
I didn't want to shout you out, Emrys, but true. Chat and Vodders. My husband, Seder M, is autistic, and we be fucking. you know, we be fucking. Also, he's hot. But seriously, like somebody I love very, very much is autistic, and I kind of take exception with the idea that, you know, being an autistic guy would be an insurmountable barrier to getting laid. Now, again, we're outside of incel culture because, you know, we gay, but yeah, like it's still like the idea that being autistic would be a barrier that would just a wall you can't climb is really, really, really misguided.
Enough that people are actually like searching for it, and it also sort of like describes my situation. And if you're curious, I actually made a video that like describes how I think I ended up in this situation. I'll link it in the description. But yeah, so, you know, I'm like an incel, or like, you know, forever alone, or whatever it is. But, you know, quite honestly, like I can't say that really bothers me all that much. Like I kind of just like never think about it. Like I'm just not bothered by it at all. You know, it is kind of tragic, you know, to have gone through like most of your youth not having experienced any of that sort of thing. And, you know, maybe it did kind of bother me a little more when I was younger, and, you know, maybe on occasion.
Just to let you know, chat and people watching this later, it's really common for folks not to have sex in their teenage years. There's any number of reasons why folks don't do that. Like seriously, like voluntary, involuntary, didn't meet the right person, like whatever. Tons of people don't have sex until the later on. It's a stupid fucking narrative that we're taught that men are supposed to lose their virginity by the time they're fucking 15 years old. That's fucked up. Like men like are expected to lose their virginity as soon as puberty hits. Like boom, like you're supposed to be able to be physically virile as soon as humanly fucking possible, and that's really fucked up, right? Like that's unfortunate, you know, that's what is expected of a lot of guys, but men are supposed to be virile sex monsters from the time that they hit puberty. So yeah, that's a real expectation, and it ends up with people being disappointed when they don't have an experience that they thought they were supposed to have, when nobody is having that experience. It's like literally made up. It's a fucking fantasy. Like nobody, like, or at least like a very large portion of people don't get fucking laid before they're 20 years old, you know? It's really common.
I do get a little emo about it, but like most of the time I'm not really even like thinking about it. I kind of feel like I've reached like a point of acceptance or something. And to be honest, I wouldn't even describe myself as like particularly depressed, because despite everything, like I feel like I'm a pretty positive and like optimistic person. And that might just be like my temperamental nature or whatever, but I just kind of feel like somebody in my position, like you might expect them to be a little blue, but I'm just really not. And I kind of think there are varying reasons for that, like my hobbies and like my diet, and like I go out and run every morning or whatever. But that's another video for another day. And to me, like, the incel aspect of my situation, like, it's not even really the primary issue with me. It's just an effect of whatever's wrong. It's stemming from something else, whatever it is. Whether that be like, some like perceptual blind spot that I have, or, maybe possibly like a systemic issue with society. Who knows what it is? I'm not claiming to know. But yeah, like for me, the primary issue isn't even the fact that I'm like an incel, or, the fact that I still live with my dad at my age, but it's just the fact that I'm so bored. Like, wow, I'm bored. There's nothing to do. Like, I just think back to like when I was a kid and like my cousin would come over and like, my mom would take us all to the movies or something. Just like, the feeling of excitement of being about to go do something fun like that. Wow, I haven't had that in so long. God, I just want it more than anything. I have these long periods of like stagnation or whatever, like just being in my bed a lot. And sometimes it gets to the point where I start having these like cravings to be in like a more interesting like room or space, like a theater or something. Like, I just sit there and dream about like looking at all the intricate patterns on the walls of a theater or something, or go like look up at a skyscraper in a city that I've never been in. I just want some kind of like adventure. It's like a hunger. Like seriously, I'm so bored. I go out and throw the football in the parking lot. I go for my 2-mile run every morning. I watch YouTube videos. I go to the supermarket and get pork chops. That's it. When I get in sort of like emo moods, I always ask myself the same question. What is it exactly that I want? And the only thing that I can like come up with, like the thing that I want more than anything, is to be in like some sort of like full immersion virtual reality video game, like an RPG or something. And like full immersion to me,
You
means,
know
like,
what?
you forget
Same.
who you are in the actual world, so you like fully
Same, my guy.
become the main character or whatever. I think that would be like the ultimate for me. Like, sometimes at night I go for like night walks and I just like I listen to the Secret of Mana soundtrack, and I like secretly lament that real life can't be as interesting as Secret of Mana. Then I start thinking like, wait a second, maybe I am in that situation already. Like, maybe this is a virtual reality game where I just like forgot who I actually am. Because if I were going to select a simulation for myself, I think I would pick the one where it like looks like I have no shot, but like at the very last second I can't like come back from the brink and like live out my wildest fantasies or whatever. I wouldn't select the one where it's obvious that I'm just going to succeed, because what would be the fun in that? You got to have some kind of drama to make it interesting. Another sort of fantasy that I indulge in is like, sometimes I like listen to Weezer and like pretend I'm going to band practice or something, or sometimes I listen to My Chemical Romance and like pretend I'm in like an emo clique in school. But that's kind of all I have. Like, listening to music and pretending I live a more interesting life. It kind of feels like sleep paralysis. Like, that feeling of like, just waking up and not really being able to move, but sort of having like the dream world like beckoning you to come back. But then it's like, oh, I gotta move my arm to make sure I'm not dead. I really do wonder sometimes if I like died when I was 13 and this is just some sort of like weird limbo. I kind of have this dream of starting a band. I actually tried to do that one time. Well, multiple times actually. But this one time, like I saved up a bunch of money and got like a bunch of musical equipment and built like a studio in my garage. It took about 6 months of saving to do. But like I don't know anybody because part of whatever the issue is that I'm just like socially isolated. So it's not like I have like musician friends or anything. So I made like a Craigslist ad to ask if anybody wanted to join my band or whatever. And I got a couple responses, but nothing really ever came of it. So then I figured like, I got all this new equipment or whatever. Maybe I should just make an album or something. And then, maybe the album will blow up. And then that's when you get like the band members or whatever. Because then there's like sort of an incentive to join the band.
All right, so this took a wild turn. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like this guy. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, they're not even really ranting about being an incel. I do think being an incel does bother them, though. I'm not gonna lie. I do think that actually does bother them. But yeah, this went to some wild spots. Like
equipment and built like a studio in my garage. It took about 6 months of saving to do.
But like kind of that going back to just being so fundamentally bored, I will say that that's just a common experience. Like I hate to tie everything back around to capitalism bad, but yeah, it's like this person is used to being a consumer all the time, and it seems like when they're not consuming, they're just like kind of stagnant, and they don't know like how to be without stimulation, which is I think actually super, super common amongst people in Western cultures. Like a lot of people don't know how to exist without stimulation, and they've never learned how to just like kind of be. That's kind of something that's more in other cultures that we don't really have here. So yeah, I think it's a pretty common issue with a lot of men and a lot of people, you know. Yeah. Yeah, this guy wasn't too terribly upset about being an incel. I'm gonna watch one more. Oh yeah, okay. Okay, so real quick, this is this channel Decline. I actually fell down the rabbit hole of watching this channel earlier. It's really interesting. This person is wildly interesting. We're gonna tackle that next time. But so many men come to the conclusion that they're an incel, and they then like, so what now, right? And what a lot of other men will do is you look towards your kind of like your alpha or your positive or what you view as a positive masculine role model, right? Like you'll ask, hey, why is this person, why is it not working for me? And you look to somebody that's presumably worked for, and you look to them to see how to live. And if you don't look to a specific person, you look to like old ideas. And so, and what a lot of mansplainers will do, I guess it's just explaining here, right? Because you're not explaining to somebody who's not a man. But what they'll do is they'll like, oh, I know what the problem here is. You're not being the proper type of man. So we're gonna check out Odin's Men, and we're gonna listen to see if he's got some answers as to how and why men can get out of being incels.
Shocker, this incel can't figure out why he can't get a date. So this video will be a shocker. This incel can't figure out why he can't get a date.
First off, fuck off, motherfucker. I don't even want to hear your goddamn knocking down somebody's shocker. Yeah, fuck off, dude. Like people look the way they look and get laid all the motherfucking time. So, shocker, fuck off.
I think we'll be able to figure it out from the first picture, but let's go.
So, yeah, there are guys at work that talk to me about how I need to get laid. They talk to me about how they want to take me to the bar to get laid. Well, I don't drink. And the reason why is because I have medication that makes me susceptible.
Oh, that's a shocker, right? He's on medication. No one follows those medication don't do list things. Bro, you're young enough. No one reads that. No one listens.
What? Do what now? Don't take your medication. Odin's Men. Or no, sorry. Don't follow the instructions to your medication. Odin's Men. You get laid if you just don't take your meds, bro. Or if you just drink on your meds, bro. Come on, we're trying to get our D wet.
To the doctor, they all rock on. What's wrong with this guy? If you want to hook up, you take some extra psych meds and you go get hammered, right? That's the way this is supposed to work.
I have post-traumatic stress disorder from the bullying I went through.
That is absolutely not how this is supposed to work.
So,
my name's Christopher Walker, and I'm about to tell you how I...
You're about to tell me nothing, muff. All right.
Dependency on alcohol, so I have to be an adult. I have to make the mature decision not to drink.
All right, this guy's got...
Correct. You have to make the mature decision not to drink. You don't have to drink to get laid, but yeah, it's a very mature, correct decision to not to drink on the medication that you're on. Absolutely.
Way too much information. You know, he knows that he's got post-traumatic stress for being bullied, and the medication makes him dependent on alcohol. He's already like a mother, like a little helicopter parent, and he's a young guy. He's taking the fun out of being young. Like a little irresponsible, right? You got to Taiwan a little bit, worry about the next day if maybe you contracted an STD. That's part of growing up.
And I'm
Christ Jesus.
sorry if you don't like it, but that's just what I have to do.
Knowing what medication you should be on is helicopter parenting yourself, apparently.
It's my decision, and I've made it, so I'm not going to drink. So then the question becomes about hooking up with a drunk girl. Well, I mean, it's like, what if she makes fun of my little friend? I went through years of girls in grades 9 through 12 publicly.
Yo, actually, this is something that I haven't touched on at all. Talking about incels, and one, most fellas think that they are like, when it comes to dick size in relation to the average, or what people are expecting, what people are used to. One, we all watch too much damn porn, so we all think that we're smaller than average. Two, it does not matter as much as you think it does. Promise. Fucking promise. That's a whole different actual like stream that I could do, is just on penis size, like seriously, and how much Lumi Rue was doing a really cool stream about this the other day, actually, or she was like reacting to somebody else talking about it, where they were going over like how like men who are nude in movies actually use prosthetics because the size of their dick was so important, you know, like it's wild how much like dick size is important to people. I really do think it's a lot of projection, though. Like, I think it kind of goes back to that sort of like fascistic thinking of like the homogenized, perfect, ideal man obviously has a huge cock, right? So I think that that's kind of where that sort of bulls into, or where it comes from, is that guys who think that they're not as good, that they're not as like well equipped or whatever, think that they're undesirable. Back to Forever Alone.
Making fun of my little friend for the entertainment of small crowds.
Now I begin to wonder if this is fake. Like, no one knows how big your unit is. Let's say in the locker room they say, he's got an extraordinarily small piece, right? And they say something, but I've never seen that. The only time you make fun of somebody in the locker room amongst the men, right, is if it's your friend. And normally you're making fun.
Yeah, surprise, surprise, Odin's men doesn't quite want to engage with somebody's insecurity. Shocked. There's your shocker, Odin's men.
Somebody who's extremely well endowed, you're like, wow, what do you do with that thing? I see a lot of naked dudes in the military playing sports.
I see a lot of naked dudes. Odin's men.
I don't remember anybody making fun of them. They probably said it, but they don't know what it looks like. I mean, what is this guy running around naked?
My own mother made fun of my Johnson, so it's like,
come on, man.
That's a great concern for me. Then they mentioned possibly getting a prostitute. Well, the problem with that is I regularly donate platelets to the Red Cross, and platelets go to cancer patients, and they have a very short shelf life. Once they put the needle in you, they have 7 days to give to that person.
I don't know what that has to do with picking up a working girl. I mean, I assume he's going to cap it up, right? Be safe. I recommend that. But I recommend he gets a little wild. Like if he's not drinking at a bar. Picture this. You drink some water with lime, like a club soda. It's easy prey. There's somebody for him. There's one.
Easy fucking prey? The fuck? Yeah, that's not okay. Fuck that shit. But anyway, yeah, that's also like why, that's what a lot of the whole incel culture comes from, right? Not being able to be a fucking predator. That's, I mean, real talk though, that's when people say like a lot of the advice men get about how to not be a fucking incel and how to actually go get laid is to go to a bar. That's a fucking piece in 4-Year-Old Virgin. Like, they actually encourage him to find the drunkest girl at the bar and just take her home. Like, literally, men are encouraged to find women that have less inhibitions and have their fucking decision making centers all fucked up, or at least, you know, impaired. Yeah, that's the person you want to try to engage in a sexual encounter with. Like, that's something that men are actually taught, dude. And like, you know, easy prey, like that's the sentiment. That's the actual idea that that men are asked to follow. So honestly, if somebody told me that was the only way to get laid, was that I had to have sex with somebody who was drunker than me, yeah, fuck that. I would be an incel too. Like, seriously. Like, there's a lot of men who are rejecting because they've been taught that, and then reject that idea as, you know, getting laid or whatever.
One of these fatties out there, maybe on Bumble he can meet. I recommend never, ever in his life doing a video like this from the face up, because his neck looks like somebody's butt cheek.
And what's especially bad about it is if you do have sexual contact.
That's the first fair thing Odin's men said. Like, work your angles. It's probably a good idea to work your angles.
With a prostitute, it's like, I mean, that's a 3-month deferral, assuming you were honest, because if you are not honest, you could give a sexually transmitted disease to someone with a weakened immune system. You could. And you might think, well, what?
All right, I think this guy's a mama's boy. There's a couple things. I gave blood for years. They check it, right? They check your bloods, number one. Number two, everybody's paying for it, whether it's dinner and a date or a prostitute, so move on that topic. But he's going to find a reason not to have fun. He seems like he's got a parent like somebody I recently met. Couldn't figure out why the kid was autistic, we call it. But the parent hovered a lot. This is down in Florida. We couldn't quite figure it out, and then I met the mom.
What the fuck is he talking about? There was so much in that little section of speech from Odin's men. Holy shit. Okay, so first of all, apparently people are autistic because of helicopter parents, because the mother hovered a lot, and two, assuming somebody is a mama's boy because they have concern for their safety. And yeah, like that makes a whole lot of sense, right? That like if you know about what you should do with your medications and know about what fucking precautions you should take around STDs, that assumes that you're a fucking mama's boy. I wonder if that has something to do with why we have incels in society in the first fucking place, when ideals of compassion and I don't know, being rational and sensible are attributed to exclusively to women. Yeah, I wonder why we have a real problem with fucking toxic dudes in our country. Well, in the world in general, but we were mostly talking about American culture here.
Condoms aren't 100% effective. I mean, they're, what, 90%?
Yeah, they are.
Only pay for what you need with Liberty Mutual. I just said that.
Let me ask you a question. Have you ever
Oh
thought
my
about
god. We got double ads. I'll never give in, YouTube. I'll never give in.
It's not for disease. There's no statistic for how effective they are preventing diseases. So yeah, it's important to wear a condom, but I mean, it's not 100% effective. So you really need to be honest if you do. You need to be honest with those questions asked for their cross. So let's say.
Well, he'd be the first guy that's totally honest. They used to ask a question: have you had a homosexual relationship with a man in the last 30 days or something?
So this Onum's Men's about to advocate for lying on a medical survey, by the way, but let's go back.
You had a homosexual relationship with a man?
No.
Well, he'd be the first guy that's totally.
I mean, it's not 100% effective. So you really
Oh,
need to be
yes.
honest
Yeah. So I had a good friend of mine who, by the way, Odin's Men is 100% wrong. Condoms are not 100% effective, especially against STDs. Just an FYI. My friend actually, what did he just say? Yeah, 10 under. What the fuck? So condoms actually are not 100% effective. They're close to 100% effective when it comes to preventing pregnancy, but they're definitely not 100% effective when it comes to preventing sexually transmitted diseases. A good friend of mine actually used to say, if you wear a raincoat, you still get wet, and yeah. So it's just good to. I love that your authority in this situation is less knowledgeable about sex than the supposed incel, and that's pretty fucking common, right? Like, I think that if you look at society, this would be your senpai and this would be your student, and this guy knows so much more than fucking Odin's Men.
You need to be honest with those questions asked for their cross. So let's say.
Well, he'd be the first guy that's totally honest. They used to ask a question: have you had a homosexual relationship with a man in the last 30 days or something? Or have you had sex with a prostitute? They asked that one. New tattoos for blood, right? I'd always joke and say, yeah, of course I have. I pay for dinner and a date. The nurse would laugh. The homosexual part, I think they took that off the list because it used to exclude people from donating, I'm pretty sure. This guy's worried about everything.
I am honest.
They still ask that in Kentucky, by the way.
And let's say if I do catch something like syphilis, well, that's an antibiotic regimen. So while I'm on the antibiotic regimen, I can't donate. And then as soon as the antibiotics are done, which however long that is, I don't know, 3 months, 6 months, I don't know how long, however long it's going to be. Once those are done, it's another 1 year waiting. Assuming I'm going to get any antibiotics, so I can donate again. So since you can donate every week, and they recommend every other week, and you can donate a maximum of 24 times a year, they said.
This guy's totally mind-deaf to everything. He's already got all the specifics nailed down. If he gets the prostitute, if he says it, if he takes antibiotics. I mean, if he gets hit by a car when he walks out the door and lightning at the same time. If he's worried about risks, right?
Dude, you need to know the risks as your own body. Like, you need to engage in activities that are good for you. You need to mitigate the risk. Everybody does that. everybody knows like and takes actions due to their own personal situation. But again, that's what Odin's Men doesn't want to fucking understand, is that people are different from him and that people are not that homogenized ideal of what a man should fucking be. So he just can't understand that it's just like, and that's pretty common that men can't understand why men don't think the way that they do. But for somebody to take it as far as to be like, why does this person care about their medication? Like, it seems really fucking weird.
Right, let's just talk about it for a second. Obesity is the biggest killer, probably in America, when you figure everything that spawns off it. Diabetes, heart failure. You know, maybe that's a concern. We'll start with that one.
Yep, there we go. There we go, dipping into that old fashy line of thinking again. Again, that homogenized male body, it's got to look perfect. It can't be overweight.
Obesity. Little pro tip here.
Even if I don't max out on donations, I would possibly be missing out on giving, throughout that period, if I do catch something, I could end up, denying cancer patients 20 plus treatments. Maybe more, because I give 2 units every time I donate. So, I mean, we're at 20 to 30 cancer treatments to patients.
If they broke this down, but everybody had a risk in their criteria. I mean, right now they used to exclude homosexuals. I don't think they do anymore. If somebody tests clean, who cares? The prostitute thing, at the end of the day, if you test clean, now if this guy's sleeping with 3 prostitutes a month, he's probably safer than the guy that's sleeping with 20 randos at the club, half the time not capping it. I would think. I'm trying to understand his logic, get into his little brain here, maybe help him hook up if he's watching this video.
Just because I want a few minutes of pleasure?
Yeah, a few minutes is right.
I mean, I could very well be endangering people just because I want to use a prostitute, and it's just not right. It's not a good thing to do. So, yeah, I'm not going to do it.
I'd call this guy's mentally challenged, but I don't think he is. I've met guys like this that really have the helicopter parent who just fawns over them and has them worrying about everything they do. So every little thing is a potential risk in life. But yet you'll see him and the mom will be overweight on handfuls of medication at a time. But every little thing is a concern. It ruins the fun of things.
And even though people pressure me, I might have to say no. I'm going to have to stay an incel. And, if I'm an incel, I'm an incel, but at least I'm saving lives, At least I'm not...
This guy's not celibate by choice. This guy's celibate by...
Yeah, okay, that's enough of that. Yeah, so basically, this was a good video to kind of show off the level of, like, kind of how... Oh, my God. There's another one? Red Pill Date making a McGow. Making a McGow. Men going their own way, by the way, is what that stands for. That's a whole different topic. But anyway, this is a good video to kind of show off how, like, when men try to kind of turn to other men, right? And they try to turn to other men to figure out, what can I do? How can I fix this? How can I not be an incel? And this is kind of like what society's going to tell them, right? They're going to tell them you have to, lose weight. You have to not, be more reckless and be a less functioning member of society, while also making more money and being more valuable, right? And it puts the onus on men to be as rich and to be as good looking as possible and fuck everything else, right? And the problem with that is that it's going to lead to men not only being unsustained and unsatisfied with themselves, but they're going to be unsustained and unsatisfied with any partner. Or with any person. They're never going to, because you're never going to be able to feel good and satisfied with yourself. Nobody else is ever going to be able to just magically do that for you. Like the affection of someone else can help, and the affection of someone else can, like, certainly validate you feeling good or whatever. But if you legitimately believe that you're not valuable in society, no woman is going to convince you that you're valuable. So the idea for what my conclusion, and I'm going to jump off of here now, or in just a few minutes. But my conclusion to all this is to basically say, if there's any incels watching this on VOD, if any of my hate follows are actually watching this stream right now, and you're an incel, I just want to say to you that you are good enough. You are valuable enough, and what makes you valuable isn't how rich you are or whether or not you're autistic or how smart you are or anything like that. What makes you valuable is how what you can offer someone else. And what I mean by that is what you can offer someone else emotionally, right? Because that's a need that I don't think a whole lot of incels actually consider, is making themselves emotionally available. That's something that no incel in any of these videos that we watched discussed, is making themselves emotionally available. Right? That's a hell of a lot harder than just going and working out, bro, and making yourself vulnerable. That's another thing that like men aren't taught necessarily to do to be desirable. Again, all these men ever talked about was how they looked, what kind of social status they had, what kind of financial status they had. So I think that, at least for incel culture, they've created this idealized person that is ultimately rich, has a huge cock, is very buff and good looking, and if they can't fill that role, they're going to be forever alone. And that's obviously twofold. That's a philosophy that's going to lead. That's going to fulfill itself. And until like men figure out where to place value and what is valuable, they're not going to be able to pull themselves out of it. And men are so fucking close too, because like they know amongst their friends, like thinking about if their friend group, what's valuable in a friend, right? What's valuable in someone you want to be around all the fucking time? Because like if you claim that you want to be around women and it's not just about sex, then think about what you find valuable in your friends, and that's what I'm going to leave with you is that if you want to be better at getting laid and being more successful in romantic relationships, then think about what you bring to the table as a friend and just cultivate those qualities, because that's what's going to. I wasn't planning on giving any advice in this fucking stream, but here's where we are. If there's an incel watching this, just try your damnedest to make yourself available emotionally and try to be the best friend that you possibly could be. Yeah. So that's going to be all. That's all I've got for today. It's one of the longer streams I've done, even though it's only 3 hours. I don't know how people do this for 8 hours at a time, but I'm going to go have some dinner and hang out with my kid for 10 minutes before she goes to bed. But thank you so much for being here. 10 Under, you are ball sacks. Friend zone is friend zone is still a zone. You're all thanks ball sacks. The friend zone is a myth, and that's a whole different stream. Okay, no, that's my whole point is that the friend zone's a myth, and that the only way to actually have a fulfilling relationship with somebody is to firmly get in that zone. But you inspired me to do more social issues talking streams. Thanks for the content as always. God damn it, 10 Under. Thank you. Thank you for typing that and making me feel good. I really that's some good old fucking serotonin right there. I really appreciate it. But yeah, ball sacks. If you weren't here earlier, you missed the hate raid. Go back in the VOD and check it out. It's fucking wild as shit. All right. I love you all very much. Thank you for spending your time with me. Be good, be kind to each other, but most importantly, please be kind to yourselves. Y'all have a great day.